And we're back. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I get to continue a series that I get to enjoy, whether you like it or not. So, strap in. Returning guests are Mr. T.R. Hudson, author as well as one of the editors of the Double Dealer magazine. Mr. Hudson, hello.
Good evening, sir.
I'm good. Thank you. Capitalisimo, welcome for coming back.
Oh, I'm always glad to be here.
Oh, great. An extra from Fargo. And joining us for our season 4 review and retrospective of Adult Swim's The Venture Brothers, Mr. Last Things. How are you, sir?
I was born for this. I'm ready.
Well, I'm glad because you had popped off in a group chat saying that like you were a fan of the Venture Brothers, and then we were like, oh, let's just add him in here to this ongoing series. We've reviewed seasons 1, 2, and 3. So welcome.
Yes.
I guess we'll start with you. What when did you get into the show? Are you how long have you been a fan? Why are
Oh
you
my
here?
God. Well, I know you guys have like you've got like the art book. You've listened to all the DVD commentaries, so you guys are probably more completely well versed in the show compared to me. But I mean, I just have to thank you guys out the gate for just mentioning this in the group chat and giving me an excuse to revisit it, because it's probably been like, I don't know, almost a decade since I watched Venture Brothers, and I forgot how just damn brilliant this this whole show is. So it was just like a pleasure getting to revisit it. And season 4 is probably one of my favorite seasons. I'd forgotten that this is when 21 becomes 2 ton 21. There's a lot of very memorable episodes in this season. But yeah, I mean, I was watching it back when it was, just airing in gosh, what was it? When was this season? 2010, I think.
2010. This was the first
Yeah.
season I got to
Yep.
catch on Adult Swim as a teenager and thoroughly appreciate just how good this show is. And then I discovered the Pirate Bay and then started downloading the rest of the old ones.
Yeah. But no, I mean, there'll be plenty of time for me to simp, but I'm just happy to be here.
Well, we're happy you're here as well. Last thing, so I guess we're gonna just get started. We Cap and I concluded, because this tends to be just the tradition that we end up going through the entirety of the conclusion of the seasons, because we
Yeah.
never seem to pick the conclusions for our episodes. So we said and we agreed that this time we're just going to go through all of season 4. One, because I think this is when the show is at its peak, and I think that the writing, the references, and the art style really comes to a fruition. Because also we don't know if the show is going to get a renewed season. That's how the
Yeah, their
finale takes it.
contract. Their
Yep.
contract was expiring. They had no idea.
It'd be really funny if we decided that if this video doesn't do well, we won't do the rest of the seasons.
Oh well, I made the tragic mistake of releasing the last one on a Friday, so that one did terribly. But I'm still gonna do it because, as I say at the end of all of these things, if you enjoyed it, thank you so much for listening, and if you didn't, well, screw you. Because I'm doing this with you guys and my friends to talk about a show that we all love. I'm not really in it for the viewership or the monetization, AdSense revenue. I'm here to talk about a show I love.
If we were smart, we would have split this into 2, just like they did when they actually when they ran it. Because
That
this
is
is by
true.
far the longest season. This is 16 episodes, the last one of which is an hour-long special. Whereas, say, season 6 is just 8 episodes.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get started. So to sort of recap everything, season 3 ends with our good friend dying
24.
in a 24 dies in a lovely fiery explosion. Brock Sampson is critically wounded and injured, and all of the cloning technology is destroyed, and all the clones are dead.
All the clones are released and killed. They don't.
Yeah.
The cloning vats.
It will die in this season, though, which is you get to kill Hitler again. So there you go.
I love Hitler.
Team Venture.
I love Hitler. Hitler's the best thing to ever happen to me. A direct quote from Dean Venture.
Who would have thought? So yeah, we I guess we'll just start it off then at the first episode. Blood of the Father, Heart of Steel, runs for 23 minutes. It's great, and we get to just get a direct sort of recap alongside the comic scale for grading and minting and how much it's valued at, which I think is a great running bit throughout the first couple episodes. And we learned that we have Mr. Helper stuck in the chest of Brock Sampson. It's great.
Yeah, so Brock is critically injured at the end of season 3, wakes up in OSI custody with Helper's head in place of his heart, a la the first Iron Man movie, which may or may which I don't think was out when this came out.
The first Iron Man came out in 2008.
Oh, okay, so
this is 2 years after the movie came out, and the Doctor makes an explicit reference to that. All these Iron Man trends.
Right, yeah. Everybody,
and it's the same.
You want to get rid of it? Everybody's been wanting these.
And it's the same cosmetic surgeon who turned Colonel Hunter Gathers into
your father, your mother, your father, your mother.
Yeah, into a horrible troon.
Into an impossible woman. Yeah.
Yes. But Hunter redeemed himself.
He removed his pud for his country
and got it put back on. So, so Brock still believes that he is being hunted by OSI at this point, and so he immediately escapes and is attempted and is on the lam. He's on the lam from OSI with Helper in his chest until eventually he gets him removed by the Doctor and goes into hiding with Steve Summers and his gay lover Sasquatch. Meanwhile, a lot of things are happening at the compound in Brock's absence. A team of Nazis who have a dog with Hitler's ghost in it are trying to get the Doc to clone him. Oh no, we have lost last things.
I'm gonna back. Keep going.
What was it? All the Hitler jokes?
It was all the Hitler. It was too sad to tolerate. The Doc refuses, but they leave the dog with him and with the demand that if when they come back they don't have a Hitler, then they're going to kill him. So also 21 takes some material of 24's and tries to pay the Doc to clone 24 using a gem mint graded copy of Marvel #1. And so there are all these like beautiful painted slides for the various scenes in the show, which are based on the stories that were in Marvel #1.
What I really appreciate about this episode is that it's done out of order. They do it pretty much backwards, actually.
Yeah.
And you kind of can piece the story together by the condition of of Marvel Comics #1 with the Human Torch, but the original Human Torch, not the Fantastic Four Human Torch. This is he's a robot and he lives in like a glass tube. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No. So this Human Torch, never mind. But not the one from the Fantastic Four. This is one before that. Stan Lee later uses the concept of the Human Torch for the Fantastic Four, which this is not. Anyway, so what was I talking about?
You were describing the stories in Marvel #1, which
right.
are used as a framing device for this episode.
Right. Yes. So the Human Torch, right? Not the one from Fantastic Four, but a different one, an earlier one. I'm just going to keep trying to put this bit out, but probably get cut. But yeah, no,
Sir, I don't edit and post. You already know this.
Edit. You should drop some hard R's right now.
Retard.
There you go.
That is obviously what I meant.
That's obviously what we meant. But yeah, so the plot of this story goes backwards, and every 5 minutes or something, you'll see something horrible happen to this mint comic book that is. It's not like Action Comics or anything, but it's a pretty valuable one. There wouldn't be a Marvel Comics without this one. I think at the time it was either Timely Comics that owned Marvel, and then it later became Marvel, or it was Atlas Comics. Their whole story is kind of messed up, but it's one of those things that obviously Doc and Jackson had an affinity for, and probably knew that most people did not. Although a lot of fans of Venture Brothers definitely were comic book nerds, like myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, go ahead. Last things, if you have anything.
I was just briefly. I would assume that all Venture Brothers viewers are comic book nerds, but maybe not.
True. At least for the time back when it was honorable to be a comic nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really before the word cape shit takes off into any sort of popularity. And this is when this is the thing about early Adult Swim that I really do appreciate is that you actually have to know your Hanna-Barbera cartoons or your Action Johnnies of the world or Johnny Quests and such to get the references that they're pulling from. Like, you also have to be just one well-read nerd. And if you don't know what they're referencing, one, they're not going to handhold it to you. Occasionally, you get a bone thrown at you when 21 and Billy Quizboy try and geek and nerd out over each other, which is always appreciated because there was a point in time before Wikipedia and all that. Like, you just had to obsessively know this garbage. And, they write a love letter to the people who were those nerds. So this was not the premiere was the 7th episode that Doc and Jackson wrote, but I do appreciate like these vignettes that kind of like go over the absolute shit show that is coming out of the season 3 finale. We learn that 21 has been totally transformed into 2-ton 21. We have him dealing with the wonderful world of this comic book that is getting progressively less and less expensive, all while this like Nazi group is trying to like get the ghost of Hitler ensouled in a human body. And one of my favorite bits is that like at the opening they're like, it's time to kill Hitler, and Dean can't do it. He can't stab the dog. And what makes it even better is that Dr. Orpheus is dressed like an Old Testament Hebrew priest. And unless you know how like they were dressed, you would have no idea why he's in that garb. I just thought it was a fun biblical reference that he's dressed like an ancient Hebrew while they're trying to kill Hitler.
Yes.
He's not even 21 anymore. He should be number 1, but he refuses to give up his number. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
21 is my favorite character.
Pogo.
Best lake monster. Yeah, I mean this is the season. I mean this episode is what really, it's the first time you see 21. You see him with his Wolfpack LARP group, like his literal LARP group. I'm not saying it pejoratively. They're literally a group of LARPers. And you see him with them, and he's being a leader, and he's taking charge and trying to do something independently to get his friend resurrected, which ultimately doesn't work. 24 didn't have a memory backup, so even if Doc had agreed to it, it would not have brought 24 back. And the clone vats get destroyed by Orpheus's magic spell, which also melts the Nazis' faces, a la Raiders of the Lost Ark. A reference that I'm sure everyone will get immediately. So,
Well, this also sets the rest of the stakes of the show. Like, this is it going forward. There is no more. I mean, there's sort of, weird, wacky adventure of the week, but also that, like, this is Hank and Dean. There is no more the boys never died. Like, if Hank and Dean die, like, that's it. So we kind of know that we're strapped in for the long haul with these characters, and we finally get to see some character growth because we do witness 21 become who he is. And it's great because also, like, we already know that, he's been in this life since he was like 15 years old because he was the wrong guy who got kidnapped by the Monarch's crew, and he's been a henchman ever since. Sort of like in a Dread Pirate Roberts situation where, like, he's always had his life threatened and he's never gone. And now we see some genuine character development, and then later we see him become the man that he is, which is even better. But yeah, I mean, it's a great opener because it's just a series of vignettes, and also we're introduced to Sergeant Hatred, who we've already been introduced to, but he's divorced, he is separated, he's lost his house in Malice, the lovely HOA gated community for supervillains, and now he is the bodyguard of the man he once arched to piss off the Monarch.
Well,
he's cured. He's been cured of his affliction.
OSI's medicine has
which
helped
is
him.
which is called No Molestol.
The wonderful drug No Molestol that gets rid of all those little naked boys in your head, Sergeant Hatred.
Do you guys think that sorry to interrupt, but on the subject of 21's transformation in this season, do you think that there were any, like, kind of neat incel 21 like fans of the show who, upon seeing this transformation, were inspired to, like,
be their own men?
Like, did this show do something that Vitalist Twitter claims to have invented or pioneered many decades before Vitalist Twitter was a cultural meme?
No.
You don't think it happened?
No,
you don't think it happened at all?
I was trying to do the what's his name?
Nobody took the iron pill after seeing.
Oh man,
Gary.
I think it was
Brock.
the prerequisite to having a 21 journey is to watch your best friend die in a car explosion where you pick up his,
intentional.
Car intentional, where you pick up his your friend's decapitated head.
Well, you got nachos on your face.
Yeah, so unless I don't know how many people have experienced a car intentional where your friend's head lands in your arms, but maybe one guy. I never say never. Last things, never say never.
I can't believe
it could happen to you.
I'm like the white pill optimist here that feels like maybe some weird neat got their life together and started, like, drinking waist shakes and
I really hope not.
I'm going to say it happened. I'm going to say it happened. I don't have any evidence for it having happened.
It happened.
But it happened. Yeah, it happened. Last things, you're right.
It's spiritually
That's exactly
true.
what occurred.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because it should. A lot of people watch this show. And clearly it moved.
Obviously, not enough people watch this show, Cap.
Well, obviously not enough, right? In based world, this is a canonical work of fiction, but
I think it's more likely that there were a few Brock Sampsons out there who went all poppin' fresh as the show went on, because in this episode we also see that while Brock's been on the run, he puts on some weight. He starts looking less like a Greek god and more like a Greek guy.
It's funny. I went to a Greek restaurant today. It all kind of worked out.
You can't see this, but I'm literally wearing a velour tracksuit. So.
Do you guys think it's true that this season 4 is that do you find the 3 preceding seasons to be static and the characters to be more kind of stuck in a sitcom like repetition? Because I do think season 4 certainly takes off and characters begin to evolve in more drastic, dramatic ways. But I do think one aspect of the show, which is the most admirable and kind of gives its its appeal is that it's all of these characters that are inhabiting these static archetypes. You know, every character is both most every character has some you know, half of them is a reference to some pop culture, you know, Hanna-Barbera, Johnny Quest cartoon, but then another part of that character is referencing some sort of, you know, real historical Americana, you know, like Johnny Quest, who's also the, you know, drugged out you know uh you know, drug addict, or the Scooby-Doo gang
The
that's
fail son.
yeah but
I cannot wait to talk about the Boy Adventurer episode.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. But I don't know. But there is this aspect that, like, there's part of that, all of these characters that are constantly kind of evolving or changing while trying to kind of cling to the static archetype. Not just Dr. Venture himself, but I mean everybody's kind of in that circumstance.
I think you're right. I don't necessarily think that they are totally static in the first 3 seasons. I think, you know, season 1 you're establishing them. Season 2 they're getting a little more out there and giving them some sort of cachet with really dialogue heavy episodes, or episodes that play with the format of a cartoon, like, you know, Escape to the House of Mummies Part 2. And season 3 they start really branching out. But I do agree, that the stakes really increase past I guess, yeah, the parody reference of the characters into really being their own largely independent world in season 4. I agree that this is where they fully come into their own.
Yeah, I think especially the boys, they start out as kind of like their own version of like a Johnny Quest or Hardy Boys type parody, and at this point in season 4, they're more their own characters. If season 3 they got the art style down pat, they nailed the characters in season 4 for the rest of the series, I'd say.
Season 1 and 2, I think, have the most static to them. Season 2 begins to tease and flesh out some world building. What I do appreciate, though, is that Doc and Jackson do go as far back to season 1 on some things to bring in new characters. For instance, we finally get to meet General Timothy Treister, an episode which is a name that gets dropped in season 1, episode 8, Midlife Chrysalis, where we meet his son, and he's like, "My father's General Treister. He spoke of you as you were a god. You did not disappoint." We get to meet him later, and he's just like this kind of weird Teddy Roosevelt, like, you know, Eternal Summer kind of kid.
Wants to settle things with wrestling.
Yes. Sometimes
thinks he's turning into a Hulk.
Yeah, but we'll get to that later. And so I think season 3 gets to really flesh out the world, because all the episodes I talked about in the last episode for this was just nothing but how the world gets fleshed out. Because like this world is playing it completely straight. Like, yeah, there's super scientists, there's obvious Scooby-Doo references and ripoffs, but also there's a whole lot of paperwork and bureaucracy that I imagine would exist in any world where super scientists and supervillains are real. So that's why I love this world so much. It's so deep and it's so rich, and it plays it completely straight despite its absurdism. But this is the episode where there are no more resets. We killed the character. He's not coming back. The boys are permanently themselves and have to deal with the ramifications of being clones. And we are now going to see real character development. Yeah, this is why I think season 4, as much as I like seasons 5, 6, and the sort of concluding aspects of the show and all of its specials, this is the best. This is probably my favorite season.
Prude, if you and Gio were the Venture brothers, which one of you would be Hank and which one of you would be Dean?
Oh, I'm Hank. Sorry.
No, you're Pete White and he's Billy Quizboy.
That would imply I'm a parasitic leech.
Prude, I think you're temperamentally you're probably more like Hank, but you dress more like Dean.
Sorry. I just wanted to
Calling
believe
me
that you
Pete White?
you kicked Hudson.
Calling me Pete White? You bastard.
Am I still here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good lord.
So
Well,
should we move on?
We know which one would be the outdoorsy one in that context, though, last thing. So it all kind of works out for who's Hank and who's Dean. I wonder where they got the... Because my brain thinks Jan and Dean, another 60s like beach pop duo. I wonder where they got the names from. But yeah, so we start off with the 7th episode written to give some references to the from the art book, Go Team Venture, the art and making of the Venture Brothers, for episode 40, Blood of the Father, Heart of Steel. They're talking about burnout and a lot more production to do in post. And they want to go over all the plots that are deep and go back over 100 years. And they did a lot of good work with this one, even if they thought there was a lot of burnout, which is why it's styled like vignettes. But Jackson Public says, the Brock plot feels very much like the way I tackle other Brock stories. It's got the seeds of OSI Love You in it, where it's a fake spy intrigue. Between the two of us, we had already written 6 other episodes with no Brock, so we're writing this premiere knowing that Brock's not going to be around for a while and wouldn't be around until Doc's subsequent script. We had to come up with the idea that he was going to be with Sphinx and that we were eventually going to surprise you with the fact Sphinx was actually hiding in a warehouse in his compound all along. That's how we were going to get him back into the show. That's why we did this. This is the one that set that up, and I think it's pretty good. In the same way we get the, Indiana Jones Hebrew thing as well, which all plays out the way it does. And he gets to kill Hitler. Never thought he'd get to do that on his list of things he would never do.
Dead Air.
Dead Air, a great campaign and level from Left 4 Dead. Cap, you listened to the commentary track. What was in there?
It was mostly, honestly, most of the commentary for this season was literally them talking about what a goddamn slog it was to write this season, because this got released in 2 halves. Initially, it was an order for like a 12 episode season or something like that, but Doc Hammer, I can't actually remember which one it was. Was it Doc Hammer or Jackson Public who was having trouble writing? I think it was Doc Hammer. He was like going through a lot of shit in his personal life and it basically couldn't work. So the commentary on these was mostly them having PTSD about how difficult it was to create this season. And I mean, you can't really tell it in the product. Like they didn't just push shit out the door to get it done with. So,
do you guys know? I mean, if this was in your earlier streams, just tell me to sit down and shut up. But what were Doc Hammer and Jackson Public doing prior to this series? Like what gave them the clout to get this project greenlit? What were their careers prior to this?
Yeah, so they had basically worked on other shows, and I'm terrible at keeping them separate in my head. So I think it was Doc Hammer who had worked on The Tick. So you can see a lot of
now I can see a certain kind of genealogy between
exactly. There's definitely a sort of genealogy in this, especially in some of the goofier characters. Like later in this season, we'll meet Fat Chance as part of the Revenge Society, and he was literally a unused character from The Tick. Like he was just in the idea book and had never gotten used before.
So he was also a talented musician on his own. He's done a lot of other rock and other things. He did some film music for some, I think, independent film, ABC Manhattan, back in the 90s. And then, he just worked with the other guy for quite some time.
Cool. Interesting. Thanks for filling me in, guys. Sorry, I've clearly not done the degree of research that any of you have.
It's okay.
We're really this is not supposed to be the super informative retrospective. This is supposed to be the
The super informative retrospectives have been done by like 4 or 5 other guys.
Yeah.
We're doing this because we want to have fun. But no, Jackson Public's the one that did a lot of work on The Tick and had done a lot of voice acting. He's also done a lot of other stuff with Fox Kids as well. So I mean, he's been the one who's been more busy, I think, in the comic book animation world. But he's also just had a good friend for a long time, and these guys just get each other, which is what you really have to appreciate about the show. But I think we're going to be able to just move right along because this is going to work out great. All right, episode 2, Handsome Ransom. Take it away, boys.
If we take 30 minutes for every single episode, we will be done with this stream in 8 hours.
Great.
I finally will have something. I finally will have some kind of product worthy of like patrician tier references. I've always wanted to do the 8-hour video retrospective and discussion on a single season of television. I finally get to do what I made my PC for, which is long form video content.
We could have just live streamed us watching and talking about the episodes like a fucking.
Don't tempt me.
Track.
We might do that. We might do that for season 5.
That'd be fun.
I'm down for a drive time movie night style way of commentary.
Nice. Yeah.
So anyway,
hopefully, except on a good Ransom. Property. Holy fuck.
So yeah. Handsome Ransom is my second favorite of the season. It stars, it stars
Captain
Kevin Conroy, who was the Batman in the animated Batman cartoon, as Captain Sunshine, and the whole time they're just playing on the Adam West 66 Batman and how it was the implication of it being a homosexual relationship between Batman and Robin. So you have the whole time, as a plot aside, Hank is basically adopted by Chuck Scarsdale, the local Channel 5 news anchor / Captain Sunshine. And the whole time he's trying to replace his last sidekick, Wonder Boy. The Wonder Boys just keep dying. This is definitely top 2 of the season for me. Cap, say smart things now.
I've never done that in my entire life, but I'll try now.
Okay, LT, then you go.
Last things. You okay?
I'm here. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. No, I did get my wife was yelling at me momently, so I did completely phase out. What am I supposed to do?
Oh, all right. So, goddamn. Sorry. Hold on. I lost my train here. Okay. So, the way that the episode opens is that the monarch has kidnapped the boys once again in some sort of off-camera shenanigans. Captain Sunshine breaks in, gives everyone a sunburn with his sunshine powers.
That's one of my favorite parts. Is that everybody gets a sunburn.
Rescues Just Hank. And flies away with him.
Don't forget about the Astroglide.
Oh God, yeah. Basically, through
everyone just thinks he's gay. Like he rescues Hank. He adopts him as his new Wonder Boy. But they're like flying over the cityscape, and it's just like a random passerby of civilians. They're like, "Wow, Captain Sunshine's out of retirement.
He'll clean the streets up. I mean, just don't let him.
Near my kids.
I wouldn't want him near my kids."
There's a lot of pedo humor in this whole season.
It's a really pedo heavy season.
It was also just a different time.
Why Sergeant Hatred's the main character. Like we get a whole spiel about how it's important to have safety
wait.
procedures.
We definitely want to talk about the whole that whole episode later.
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah. But I mean,
it
there's a
it
whole.
was 2010, guys. It was a different time. You can joke about these things.
Isn't it sad that like this is 2010 and I think Billy Pratt is absolutely correct when he says that millennial culture is vulgarity culture. Like if
Yep.
you're growing up as a teenager or early 20s on Dr. House and the Venture Brothers and other Adult Swim stuff, I mean, you being hedonistic and irreverent is just sort of built in.
Yeah.
I blame Obama.
I mean, everyone should.
But why are millennials the ones most likely to get all triggered about this shit now?
It's a great question. I'd imagine because they got swept up in. I don't have a complete answer.
So I
to that,
would say that it's because
no one wants to be seen as cringe, but except this time, instead of being cringe, you're getting
Problematic.
canceled financially for
A
saying the word
heckin'
retard
decent
5 years
person.
ago.
Yeah.
Are the same millennials to? I hate defending my generation because everything.
You have
said
every
is
right
true.
to defend your generation.
I don't want to. But what I will say is I don't know if the same millennials that are now highly PC and get bent out of shape about this stuff is the same crew of millennials that was grokking the hell out of Venture Brothers. Like I don't know anybody who went real woke that also had
if there was
the chops to ride with a Venture Brothers episode.
If there was a
No, they're
Venn
too busy
diagram-
writing 3-hour video essays sucking the dick of moral oral episodes.
Oh god.
Yeah,
If there was a Venn diagram between Venture Brothers watchers and Chapo Trap House listeners, we'd be the only ones on the outside of one of those circles.
Yeah,
except
it is.
Cap,
Yeah.
who loves Chapo Trap House.
Fuck you, buddy. I am going to use the kick gun the next time. So
everybody catches strays in my drive-bys.
This is you're gonna have to get last things with one next time. Keep it even.
Oh Lord.
But I think like you're onto something, Prude, with like vulgarity culture as millennial culture, because that ties back into something you were saying earlier about just how straight-faced this is, despite the absurdity of the humor and the world building. And it is something unique about the show that it treats pop culture history as history itself, and that is exactly what a millennial does with pop culture. There is no distinction between sort of like
you know what it was,
early 21st century American culture and the history of pop culture inside the millennial imagination are just this is one object, and as is the case with Venture Brothers.
You know what it is? It's 9/11. The fact that 9/11 was on the news for months and just everything was 9/11 watch. And they rolled the TV into the classroom because I was in second grade, and they rolled the TV in on the cart so that we could watch the planes hit the towers. So everything, all history and pop culture literally fused into one thing because we were all watching the TV. And then the internet came along, and that just kind of cranked that up to a 10.
Well, I think the other thing to consider too, because it's such a huge tangent, but I think it's a fun tangent to go down, is that I think that the internet has allowed spaces to, and by space, it's like these niche internet ecosystems to fractalize, like there's these constant reiterations almost rhizomatically where you're engaging in a kind of how can I top this guy in terms of like a take or an opinion or a nuanced way, or can I cancel him or knife him in the back? Because it's sort of a clout culture. It's very PvP kind of politics. And in doing so, like you're creating these new spaces out of spaces to where you have to either be like the ultra woke purity guy, or like if you don't talk about T and D every 3 minutes, you're not a
But
true
why
right
don't you
winger on
name
Twitter.
them?
Yeah, right, exactly. So I think that one thing about the millennial, especially with sort of like this pop culture stuff, is this that like everyone on this panel is a pretty right wing individual, but like we're watching a show where there's like open pedo jokes, there's a lot of trans jokes, there's a character named Shore Leave that's gay. They're like two really big gay characters, the Alchemist and Shore Leave, and yet I can
And
laugh
Pete
at
White.
and well and Pete White. in a
I'm
lot of
so
ways.
not. Yeah, he's so not gay.
He's so not gay, but
I'm
you
an
know,
albino.
an albino.
This is my favorite shirt. It just, it used to be red.
So, but anyways, I think it's just an interesting aside to look at that. Like all four of us love the shit out of the show. Although I guarantee you, if we were to ever say that publicly, I mean, this is going on YouTube, but if Jackson Public and Doc Hammer were to ever find this, they'd probably like disavow us and call us Nazis or whatever. But I really don't care. Like they did great television
To
and
which
great
we would
writing.
say, "So true, King."
I don't know about that.
I don't know
all
about
right,
that.
not that,
I'm gonna.
not that.
All right, the
All
kick
right.
gun has been pointed
What
at Cap.
do I? Yeah.
Yeah, what did he know? That yeah, I mean, it's important to keep things within. This is a sensible centrist podcast. It's sensibly moderate and centrist. I don't know.
I've been sent to
live-
re-education hyper camp, and what I can say is I don't really care about the national sovereignty of the state of Germany.
They're okay.
When I was talking about how I didn't like Obama, it's because I wish that there were two Obamas.
There are two.
There are two Obamas.
Well, hot dog.
There's Barack and Michael.
Anyway, as far as the Overton window, I live right on the pane in the middle.
Also, I do like all of the sort of characters that we get introduced with the news action team. Because
And that
also
immediately pays off too, because Robot
it sure
Ghost,
does. But I love Robot Ghost because he just looks like a. Speaking of Iron Man, you have
Iron Giant.
or the
U.S.
Iron,
Steel.
Yeah. You have the Iron Giant in a clan hood that's meant to be a ghost. and like you look at the artwork for him, and he's got again like the little clasp that holds the like cape and the hood together. It just looks like a Klansman.
It really
And I don't know
does.
how deliberate that was, but it's so funny to me because it's just like the clan has a robot now.
They don't.
God,
they
that just
don't.
that
Yeah.
reminded me of the other like side character. I think that they called him White Noise, who's the
Yeah. In prison.
prisoner that the monarch meets when he goes to prison.
Is this gonna be a mixed
Racially
race?
mixed, yeah.
Yeah, racially mixed, Ryan.
Yeah. No. Yeah, he died. He was turned into static in a TV repair accident.
Beautiful.
Again,
Yes.
played completely straight.
The characters. So the entire action team, the Action 5 News team that Captain Sunshine is on, they all have superhero alter egos. And the sports guy is Uncle Slam, or was supposed to be called Uncle Slam, but someone else had already taken that.
I think no, wasn't
and
he
so
the Brown
it's- so now-
Thrasher?
Brown Thrasher is another. Brown Thrasher, yeah, is another guy. I might be mixing up which one is which.
No.
then-
You have it right for this one.
But then there was Ghost Robot, who was the weather robot, and the female head anchor, who was Barbecue. She's like a beautiful doll who has fire powers.
Boy, did that joke come back with the news in Haiti.
Nice. Yeah. Is that still happening?
Yeah,
Is
no,
Haiti
Barbecue
still a
is
shithole?
Yeah, barbecue is
Haiti's
still
a
eating
shithole.
people.
It's been a shithole since the revolution. 200
Well, is
years
General
ago.
Barbecue still in
Oh,
control
I'm
of
sure.
Port-au-Prince?
And if not,
Let's
there's
ho-
lieutenant.
let's hope he is.
There's like 1 million generals in Haiti. Like that's just how the Haitian military works. There's like 1,000 generals, 10,000 privates, and 10,000 lieutenants.
Now is the time for some Korean insurrectionists to go to Haiti and become General Bulgogi. So, anyways,
How specific there, Cap?
I'm Asian Aryanism pilled, so I just want to see him help out a little.
So Jackson Public writes, now we'll wrap it up here. So it's natural that there be backlash to hatred because we replaced Brock with the last person we should have, a pedophile who is more of a classic comic relief character. He's more bumbling, into foibles, and he's a former villain, although he was never a heavyweight villain. He was an affable older villain who had been in the game too long, had his battles with alcohol and clearly anger management issues, but he has been changed by a younger, new agey girlfriend, so he was in a better place. One could argue my voice for him is way more annoying than Patrick Warburton's voice for Brock, but I like to think that there was a lot there for people not to like, but boy, a little pedophilia goes a long way. For the record, I just want to point out that Captain Sunshine is not actually a pedophile. This was a bad season in which to present the story because we already had Sergeant Hatred being all pedophile-y, and then I come out with this guy. I understand the criticism surrounding the pedophile jokes in this season, but this particular episode was more inappropriate appearing relationships than anything actually creeping going on. Visually, this episode is hit or miss. There's some ugly moments in it and some stuff that bothers me, like clunky animation or uncinematic shots. A couple of times the storyboard had to go out the door, and I still wasn't satisfied but had to live with it. There's a part where they're in the car and they stop for a little fight with Scorpio that looks like crap. And that's the end of his little section there. I actually like the fight with Scorpio just because it's like, oh, you got another one. I thought you retired, Captain Sunshine, because you're kind of a little queer. And it beats the shit out of him. But I mean, it's really funny to me. Like this was an episode that just adds it's more pedophilia on top of more pedophilia, just like Chad Felix Green talking about how he was 14 when men did him.
And yet, last thing says that this is his favorite season. What did he mean by that?
So you're telling me that like
what's with the small child in your profile picture?
Doc. Good.
Horrible.
This got dark. But do you think like Doc Hammer and Jackson Public like total libs? Like if they wrote that,
they're like the dirtbag left.
Like minor attracted person as opposed to pedophile. Like
that's pretty extreme. Like
I don't think they go that far.
Lefty. Yeah,
I think they're dirtbag leftists.
I mean, do you think that will like by 2030?
Oh God! Please don't! We could get into some really horrible.
I don't want to think. I don't want to think about it. I don't.
I do love gambling.
God. So yeah, on to the next episode.
Way to bring down the mood, LT.
Yeah, way to go.
What's the over/under on when map becomes the preferred nomenclature?
It's not the preferred.
Well, didn't we just have some like major Twitter account just say like absolutely LGBTP should be on the list? Like this is another push. We already know this, guys. Harry Hay, Nambla walks with me. We get it. All right. On to episode 42, Perchance to Dean, written by Jackson Public. Dean, introduced to super science, where Rusty is literally telling that Dean is his favorite and Hank is... He's got a weird view of Hank, where Hank is like, oh, he's been thrust into this life. He's resisting it. I see myself in Hank. I don't want him to experience the same thing, while, throwing his other son, Dean, into the meat grinder of super science.
Yeah, you can tell that
ready for
Doc is
to enter
trying
the court
hard.
of the Crimson King.
Doc tries hard to be
He's trying to be a dad.
But he doesn't know his sons at all.
Well, and in this episode, there is a failed Dean clone that like a Bort is living in the attic.
Actually, his name was Hugo. Bort was
Hugo,
the license plate.
Yeah. Sorry, Bort's the license plate one. Yeah, this was like a Hugo.
Is it bad that when you say Bort?
He is
when
a
you
Bort.
say Bort, I think of Burt strips. and that like weird, like tiny deformed retard Bert and Ernie child or whatever. Bort.
No,
Wait,
we've talked
wait,
about The
wait, 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 wait.
Simpsons.
You don't know about Bert strips?
Nope.
No.
Oh, I'll send you some later. You're going to enjoy the shit out of that weird Reddit Soylential culture artifact.
dear.
I think you will enjoy the dark humor. But anyways, carry on.
So there is a failed clone of Dean that is living in the attic, is deformed and twisted and hallucinating conversations with Doc Venture, and building a skin suit, a beautiful skin suit out of dead Deans. And he's not a murderer. He's just harvesting dead Deans. And fortunately for him, there have been quite a lot. So, but he's sort of at the end of his rope, and eventually he tries to murder this last live Dean, to finish his suit and finally receive his father's love. And so there's sort of these parallel things where Doc Venture, in the construction of this episode, where Doc Venture is trying to be a father to Dean and is completely oblivious to this other, like, genetically still Dean person who is probably the one who is definitely the one who he has been the worst father to, but who wants his approval the most. So there's an incredible.
So you're saying the monster Dean is millennials, and Dr. Venture is like the boomer dad. Is that where you're going with this?
No, you see, Dr. Venture is actually the monster.
Oh my!
I'm saying the real
You're telling
monster.
me this for the first time, Hudson.
Galaxy Brain.
Yeah.
And the slow motion Tim and Eric awesome show, Galaxy Brain.
Yeah. There is an incredible sequence in here where you get a bunch of these Doc Venture sets Dean down with a bunch of prog rock albums, gets him started on Yes, and Dean proceeds to sit in a classic stereophonic egg chair, which is a piece of mid-century interior design. It was this acoustically sealed chair with a stereo system built into it, and Dean proceeds to fully hallucinate, full body hallucinations, this just absolutely wild sequence inspired by the illustrations of Roger Dean, who is an album artist in the 70s, and who is the name, and for whom Dean is revealed to be the namesake. So,
well, there you go. You answered my Jan and Dean question, so I appreciate that.
I really want to go on a tangent about the band Yes, but I won't.
Do it.
I don't actually have anything. I just really like Yes. It's a good band.
Yes. Couldn't help myself. Sorry. I also like how Dean is destined to lose his hair, just like his dad.
He's already widow's peaking.
Poor Norwooding bastard. It's over for him. Which is even worse later in the episode with the Master and Triana. But like, yeah, rough. Also, I like how our friend Hugo's got like basically a full set of skin from all the dead.
Can we just call him Hugo?
He's Hugo now. Does he have a name? I don't think so.
I think it's just just Dean.
No, just the other Dean, the deformed
code name D19.
Aborted Dean.
Aborted Dean. Yeah, aborted Dean. That's exactly really what this is, because we do actually see them send him down the drain.
Hit the giant red abort button. Yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing weird about that.
Dr. Kevorkian is his pediatrician.
Absolutely. But also, like, there's the great we're creating decoy Rusty Ventures to be basically explosives to defend the compound, courtesy of Sergeant Hatred's ideas. And
Which
then they see
he gets those explosives in the mail.
Yeah,
which is
he
great.
he gets the explosives in the mail alongside some, I think, like caskets or something like that.
Oh
Or
God.
or no, body bags. It was body bags, which are like alerts the cops because some guy's been like stalking the place out. And then
So-
they see a fire from inside, and they're like, "Oh, it's gone all Waco on us!" And then it leads them on a strange journey where there's a car chase where Dermot goes back to his like shitty trailer home, and what about Mexico? And like, you're on your own. Take my money and run. And
yeah,
it's
there's a
great.
B plot. There's a B plot for Hank.
There's also a Heaven's Gate joke.
Well, so
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a couple where there are not a lot of black characters in this show, and other than Jefferson.
And there are like
Twilight.
what? There's Jefferson Twilight, the one black guy that we see in this episode.
Well, but the thing is, so
Holy Diver.
right.
Wow, there are not a lot of black. Wow, thanks for pointing that out. Interesting.
So there are not a lot of black characters in this show,
or females.
True.
Thank God
And
for that.
when they are receiving the deliveries, the UPS driver is a black guy, and Hank also has that he brings in the stuff on a dolly, and Hank is using a dolly to set up a super science lab, like baby's first super science lab in the panic room at the orders of his father. So they're rolling around. They're rolling around these dollies. They run into each other, and the UPS guy is like, "Hey, are you angling for my job?" And he's like, "No, did my dad say something?" And and he said no, and then he said, "Are you psychic?" And Dr. Venture says, "Just because he's black doesn't mean he has the shining." But then you see the UPS guy at the strip club, Nightingales, later on have a premonition about the compound, and it basically have the shining, and then report the compound to the sheriff's department because they're all wearing uniforms, and they have this big compound, and it's very suspicious. And he basically puts the idea that this is a cult in the sheriff's head. So it comes out that this is not the first time he's done this sort of thing. But yeah, the Dr. Venture C4 molds end up decisively winning that battle. And
It could have been such a good Kaczynski joke.
Hmm?
And there could have been a really good Kaczynski joke with the UPS delivery.
Yeah, they really didn't do. They didn't do one.
And it's funny because they mention Waco, they mention Heaven's Gate. Like this is the other big thing that happened in the 90s.
Yeah. Do they say Ruby Ridge?
Not in this episode.
Not in this episode. There is a reference to Ruby Ridge. I don't remember which episode, but it's there. But yeah.
And ultimately, aborted Dean ends up having one of his hallucinations, hugs a C4 Doc Venture, and explodes. So,
and of course, Rusty has no idea. He's just like,
who the hell was that guy? Who the hell was that guy?
Yeah.
So
it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can wrap that one up pretty nicely. Anything from you? Last things?
No, we can move on.
All right, cool. All right,
Very nice.
episode 43, Return to Malice. So we get our 2-ton 21. And then unfortunately the Moppets are still alive, which is always unfortunate. It's really frustrating. Really can't stand them at all. This is the wonderful episode where they're like, "Hey, 21's doing a lot of great stuff for you. Like, we've got this fancy chef," which causes the Monarch to have an allergic reaction. Well, he's supposed to have an interview with what was it called? Enemy Monthly.
Modern
Or
Enemy
Modern
Monthly.
Enemy Monthly. Yeah. But also we get to see 21. He's like the new number 2 for the Monarch, and he's got the skull of 24 with him, and he's got this like list of the people he thinks is responsible for the death: the Ventures, Brock Sampson, the Moppets, OSI, shape-shifting Nightshade, suicide, or just random happenstance. But I mean, it's also really entertaining. So you've got the unseen mother bit, which I think is like interesting for a lot of female characters in TV shows or comedies. For instance, we never see Norm's wife in Cheers in the same way we never see Niles' wife Maris in Frasier. It's a common trope with moms in TV shows. I think it's also a King of Comedy reference as well. But yeah, there's always. Plus, we get to deal with the fact that Hank and Dean have been kidnapped by a roguish 21 Chinese water torture and everything. I quite like this episode because it is a continuation of all the other stuff that we get to see with the characters. Like, it's just more ingrained and in depth. For instance, like Rusty is just an impotent flirt when it comes to Dr. Mrs. the Monarch. And they're just like sharing about how shitty their lives are.
It's really funny to me how she's so repulsed by Rusty, yet is married to the Monarch.
Boy, oh boy, does 2%, genetic difference goes a long way, I guess.
It's the baboon, I'm telling you.
It's the baboon.
Ladies love the baboon.
But yeah, this is where we get a lot of the more of the LARP group where he like fireball and he's like the nerd's throwing tennis balls at him, and then he just like picks up the wizard staff and beats the shit out of him. And he's just like, I've become like the king, and I never want to lose another henchman on my dime or on my watch. And this is of course, like this is also when there's the hatred B plot as well, to find where the kids have gone. He's trying to get his stuff back from his old house in the Malice. Sees his wife, Princess Tiny Feet, in the arms of another man.
Well, it's what is it? It's Malice Squadron.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's Corporal Schwa. And Tilda. It's all of them. It's all of them.
In a position that he asked for, just not while wearing assless leather chaps or whatever.
Yeah.
This is what's the problem when you just recently rewatch something, it all blends together in your head. But I mean, again, like you just get to see more of the backdrop of the inner drama and workings now that the Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend are married, and Henchman 21 is a giant, just hulk of a man. I mean, it's pretty entertaining to say the least.
Yeah, and to be fair, so this is the episode where you find out that all of the other henchmen no longer see 21 as just one of them. Like he gives them orders. They are terrified when he intervenes in a conversation. This is the one where he talks about Ogo Pogo.
Yeah. Because this is where the nerd reference is now intimidating, because he's got these like wrist blades that shoot out of the top of his arms, and earlier it would be him arguing with 24 about whether or not the Smurfs are mammals. And now it's like, it's Ogo Pogo or I'm going to fucking slit your throat.
I post the 2-ton 21 photo of him with his retractable knife poking out anytime I'm in a Twitter group chat and somebody mentions that they had sex.
You too
that's
had
my
sex,
that's my running that's my
right?
I've done it 100 times. That's my running Venture Brothers gag. I got it. I got the photo in my save folder. On my
I'm
phone.
looking forward to watching that get dropped in Pond Trust.
It's weird. It hasn't come up in Pond Trust.
Yeah, it's so weird that none of the guys in Pond Trust ever talk about having had sex.
I
Three
feel
out,
like
3 out of 4 of the people in this this podcast, by the way, are all wife guys. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Interesting that none of these people talk about having sex at all.
I
Just
mean,
curious.
it's so constant that it's
She has a
barely
headache.
passes a mention.
Get her an aspirin, mate.
There's only one cure for headaches, and that's
Hammers.
that's a gag. So
That's a 21 photo in your
that's a
Yeah.
21 photo.
The 21 photo with the
Do
ball
it for
gag.
Gary.
I've got Hedge for Life tattooed over my hairy gut. So you know.
Weird. I've got Vatrid on my. Never mind.
I had all the others removed except for the D because
When does he change it from an H to a V?
it's either the end of this season or the beginning of season 5.
Because one of my favorite lines.
I think it's the beginning of season 5.
One of my favorite lines is when Hank it just goes up to he's like, Uncle Vatrid, and like just completely straight faced.
It may be in this season. I don't remember.
It would
Although
have
he
to be
does,
the very end.
because it is orange. I think in like the first couple of episodes, I think he does change it to blue. I don't know.
The
although
V is blue.
Although he has it does have one of my favorite jokes about like tightening up security because like he breaks into the bedrooms and he's like, I've had enough time to kill you and like take your brother's leg and beat you to death with it. You need to practice getting in the panic room. And then he's like, why am I like doing all this? He's like, well, I'm your former arch enemy, and I also happen to be a recovering pedophile. So if there's anything about kidnapping little boys, it's gonna be me. And he's like, why did I hire you? He's like, it's because I'm great, and it's one of my favorite exchanges. And because it's so it's played completely straight, despite him being the comic relief character. He's like, of course I'm an expert in security. I used to hench you, and I happen to be a pedophile. Like it's it's awful that I enjoy the character for what he is, despite being a totally executable piece of garbage.
True. Unfortunately, real world Sergeant Hatred would have
been executed publicly.
Yeah, would
That's
have
great,
to beat the 9
Sergeant. Please
millimeter,
face the wall.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you're reformed. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Anyway,
Please face the wall.
I've got your injection right here.
Yes.
So episode 44, The Revenge Society, written by Doc Hammer. So this is one of the orb plots as well, right?
This is the end of the orb plot.
Yeah.
And
Phantom Limb is back.
Yeah, this is the reintroduction of Phantom Limb, the reveal of the faces of Dragoon and Red Mantle, and
you mean Buddy Holly?
Their simultaneous
And the Big Bopper.
Yeah, their simultaneous reveal of their faces and their identities as Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, and they're joining together into one body, a guy with two heads, the most consistent comedy duo in a show that is comprised almost entirely of comedy duos. Just a straight man and a buffoon attached with just two heads on one guy. So,
and I think is this also the episode, or is it in the previous 3 seasons, where we learn that Billy Quizboy is like a medical surgical genius?
No, he performed surgery several other times. But this season, this season he gets kidnapped multiple times to perform
illegal super surgery.
Illegal super surgery. Nobody wants to pay him, but everyone wants him to do the work. So
he is kidnapped to attach the heads.
Yeah, so Phantom Limb breaks into the guild because he has done his failed coup at the end of season 2, and basically sat out all of season 3. Comes back and kidnaps Red Mantle and Dragoon. He says that he saved. He attached their heads to each other to save Dragoon's life, which apparently Dragoon was actually sick, because he's also based on a character from a really crappy Clint Eastwood movie called The Eiger Sanction. He is a direct ripoff of the of a handler from that. And well, not, I mean, they admit it in here. Doc Hammer and Jackson Public admit that's where they got the character from. So and but really the reason that Phantom Limb did this is because he's absolutely insane. Like he's a madman. He has a quote unquote team who's working with him, which is comprised of a toaster, a shoe, and a mug with the word wisdom printed on the side of it.
This is a totally random side tangent, but I only know this because I am a big fan of John Williams. Did you know John Williams did the film score for the Eiger Sanction?
No, that is
Well, now you do.
Incredible slumming. I mean, maybe it's a banger. I don't know, but it's supposedly not a good movie. So,
and just to think, 3 years after,
only does quality.
Yeah, and just to think, 3 years after the Eiger Sanction, he does Star Wars.
God,
amazing.
Well, let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, so he breaks into the guild, kidnaps these two guys, puts their heads on the same body, and proceeds to try to get control of the orb. Billy is stuck in his Billy bag because he doesn't want to get murdered, so he doesn't want to see anything. He wants to hear as little as possible, so he's sitting in a burlap sack the entire episode, essentially. That
had to make animating it so much easier.
But yeah, well, you don't have to sink to the mouth. You just make a bag move, right? You find out that so Phantom Limb feels that he is entitled to ownership of the guild because his great grandfather Phantomas was the head of it. And the Sovereign we get to see again. It is acknowledged that the Sovereign is not actually David Bowie, sadly.
But one of my favorite lines is when Watch and Ward are just say, I think Outers was underrated.
Oh yeah. The but I mean they think he is the Sovereign, but they think he is David Bowie.
I wish he was. It'd be so much better if he actually was.
Well, they couldn't, right? So, and ultimately you get ultimately there's this whole switcheroo where it turns out that Dean Venture is the rightful heir to the Guild of Calamitous Intent, and he immediately signs it over to the Sovereign to double fake out Phantom Limb.
Don't let everyone chime in at once.
I mean, you said it all, Cap.
Well, okay. I mean, I set the stage. I just said what happened. I didn't say anything about how it felt.
You did great.
You did great.
I just chomping at the bit to get self-medication.
Dude, self-medication. So like in our previous type of setup, we would each pick 2 episodes and then really go off on those. The ones I had picked, self-medication was one of them.
Yeah,
so
same.
I completely agree with you. Last things, do you want to take this one?
Oh my God, I have to do the full summary. Okay, well,
no, you don't have to.
No, you
just talk about what you
don't
like.
Have to.
Talk
I
about
just
what's
like,
good about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's probably some term. It's not a bottle episode, but there's probably some other sitcom-like term to explain this one. But this is the one where we are primarily following Rusty Venture to his group therapy session which is him and a bunch of other now middle-aged former boy adventurers who are all, fail sons, just like Rusty, sitting around with a group therapist, kind of going over their traumas, when the group therapist is drops dead. They think that perhaps somebody has poisoned his tea, but then a poisonous snake eventually slithers out of his pant leg and proceeds to attack the boy adventurers. And then they all essentially, I guess, fall back into their boy adventure-dom in attempting to solve the mystery of who has murdered the doctor and why, which takes them on, I guess, a bit of a caper, which ends, if I'm not mistaken, at the same bar that we were just talking about, right? Or the
they go there, but it ends at Dr. Z's house.
Right.
So this episode's great because it's also a who's who of just about every single voice actor that you could pick up from Adult Swim. So basically all of the voice acting that you would get from Seth Green is in this, Patton Oswalt is in this. Really anyone that was sort of like a comedy voice actor is
John
in here.
Hodgman.
John Hodgman's in here. Like it's just a great clash of characters. So basically, Astro Boy, one of Captain Sunshine's older, aged out models, the Hardy
Wonder
Boys,
Boy 1.
yeah, Wonder Boy 1,
Technically Wonder Boy 2.
technically Wonder Boy
Chuck
2
Scargill.
is the
yeah,
OG,
that's
is the
right,
OG
that's right.
Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
And so, I also, again, I just like the bureaucracy behind the guild and the OSI, that his therapy is part of the contract inside of the Guild of Calamitous Intent, saying he can't kill him due to a scheduled medical appointment. And so
It's
he
basically it's basically the testicular torsion thing.
yeah, like I can get out of getting murdered by my arch enemy because I have therapy, which I just love that that's like contractually built into the system. I find that really funny for some reason. On top of that, you have fucking Astro Boy with the reset button in the garage. Like, there's a lot of great gags in here, and just basically like in this world, there are other boy adventurers, and they're all just as fucked up as that you would imagine. Like,
And two of them are the Menendez brothers.
Yeah, and two of them are
The Menendez Hardy Boys.
Yeah, Johnny Quest literally, has a drug addiction problem, and he's there because he's court ordered, and he's stealing a prescription pad from the dead doc. It's
looks like you got a little herpy on your lip there. You've been kissing your wife's ass after I put herpy there.
And you get the little comic book, racket, groin kick, great stuff. It's a good episode. And this is again where you get to see Rusty actually is like the only sane person in the room. He's like, wait a minute, I have a family. What am I doing here?
Yeah, he ultimately denies the plot. He ultimately just denies the entire premise of the episode. Goes home. It's like, I don't care who killed my therapist. I'm gonna go be a father, which is respectable in a certain light. Like Rusty stepping up and like not falling back into these boy adventurer things. But you guys are leaving out the B plot for this one.
Wait, before we can go on,
the
B plot. Yeah. We should just mention that this is again sort of the duo of 21 and 24 being no more. Although granted, 21's still kind of hallucinating and having conversations with 24. There becomes this PG Wodehouse like Jeeves like relationship that begins to form with 21 and the Monarch, where he's just 21 is the there's got to be other examples of this other than Jeeves, but like the hyper competent manservant.
He's the fixer. Yeah, the fixer.
Yeah, he's the fixer, and like, or it's like he's like Penny and the Monarch's Inspector Gadget, where he's like constantly actually.
You should have stuck with Woodhouse, man.
I don't know, but like that's sort of the new villainous duo comic relief that forms out of this season, which is
or like what's his name? The Pink Panther.
Clouseau, Inspector Clouseau,
and his partner is like hyper competent, or there's some. I mean, we'll later get like some Green Hornet stuff with the Blue Morpho, but there is some of that in some iterations of the Green Hornet. You have
Kano.
Kano's like hyper competent, and Seth Rogen is not.
Yeah, you do see that because you find out in the after credit sequence that the Doctor was murdered as like a very minor errand that 21 performed on his way to go see a movie. He dropped the snake off in the air ducts, put the snake pheromones in wherever they needed to go so that the Doctor would get to them, and he was just like, in the tea, and he was like, oh yeah, he must have been dead for hours. The Monarch is just like, great, no more excuses. Rusty won't have any more therapist appointments now. Like this totally this like totally throwaway action on the part of 21, because the B plot is that Hank, Dean, and Hatred go to see what is essentially a Lord of the Rings movie. And 21 and a couple other henchmen are also happen to go there. While they're there, Hatred runs low on his meds. Is
no molestol.
Runs out of.
Did you write this?
Yes, yeah. A reference to the Realms of the Unreal, the famous piece of outsider art. I think the that very successful Darger documentary got made the preceding year. They say that, because there are there's a king of the elves in this, and Hatred is essentially wants to fuck Orlando Bloom. So he freaks out. He leaves has another freak out in the bathroom, surrounded by children, runs out, goes and locks himself in the panic room, and can't get more meds. There's a long sequence about him going to Thailand to get a beautiful brown boy girl. Wouldn't you like to have a little brother, Hank? Ultimately,
now that you mention it, holy shit, there's way too much pedophilia in this entire season.
Well, this is the high water mark of the pederasty. And they're like, what did you do before No Molestol? And it's Princess Tiny Feet. I would do Princess Tiny Feet. She was the only one who could help me with these urges. And ultimately they end up 21 ends up knocking him out, so that they can subdue him until they can get some more OSI guys there with no molestol.
So back to the main plot at the end. So did I mishear Dr. Z's wife when she basically said she was his beard? And the Dr. Z's a homosexual?
I think it's not clear if she was teasing him or not.
Okay. Because then, of course, like, the Astro Robo Boy is just like, well, you adopt me? But he looks like a freaking... Like, his face looks like a blow-up doll.
Yeah, I don't think it's clear that Dr. Z is actually gay.
Okay. Well, I don't know, because in the art book, Jackson Public says Boy is designed with blowjob lips. The initial idea was that he had these creepy real doll elements to him, like he has nipples. Maybe Dr. Z took him in after this. I mean, Boy asks a cute little thing like, "Would you adopt me?" Maybe Z took him in. We certainly haven't written for that. We haven't written some Dr. Z since then, but we haven't seen his home life.
It's
This
just
mid-scene, it's just so
in
bad.
the deleted, so there are deleted scenes where he's going on, where he's like, though her mountains are bountiful, the valley below is quite barren. Like when he goes off about that, he there are deleted scenes where he's more and more explicit, just talking about like he still does super science. It's just that he's doing cosmetic enhancements on his wife. Like, so he's just talking about all of these things that he's done, and
Finally, a reason to
it
become
does
a
not
doctor.
sound it does not sound gay. It's gratuitous, but it's not gay.
Mm. Last things, what do you like about this episode?
I don't know. I think it's. I mean, granted, it does have it does have a B plot, but I do appreciate that we don't. It feels like maybe it feels this way more than it is this way, but it somehow it feels to me like it's kind of rare when we're following Rusty the closest. He's kind of often more of like a supporting character in some way. So I appreciate it when we're given a plot line with him, because it's somehow, since he's the sort of center point of the universe, just because he's the, like, so many, villains, Golden Goose, or he's just kind of the MacGuffin, that there's something that centers the whole show when the locus and the focal point of the plot becomes Rusty.
Yeah, it does kind of get them back.
It's like you're staring right in the middle, the eye of a black hole,
It's weird. He's the straight man for a lot of this weird crap, but then he's also just been steeped in this his entire life.
Yeah.
So he oscillates back and forth between like, oh, this is really weird and strange, to this has been every single day of my life since I was born. And like, there's nothing new under the sun that I haven't seen, kind of thing. So it's weird that he's able to thread that needle.
And
Because he does alternate between, like, I must perpetuate the cycle of intergenerational trauma. I know that's such a libtarded coded sentence, but basically, like, I must perpetuate the family trauma cycle, but also this is all fake, gay, and retarded, and I am literally the only sane person in the building.
Yeah, Prude, I was going to ask, did that last sentence come with a dose of prep?
No, but it did come from a nice deposit of herpes on your mom.
Herpy.
From her ass?
After I put herpy on it.
I don't know, but like the group therapy session too, just somehow
I just love the implication that there are other fucked up middle-aged adults that grew up in this world of boyhood adventuring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what, like 99% of the characters outside of Dean and Hank are like fucked up middle-aged adult men. So
I wonder how much of that is a reflection of the creators of the show.
Yeah.
I wonder, is there a reason that we like this show so much?
Oh no.
Speak for yourself. I'm not middle-aged.
I'm younger than you.
No, you're
I'm
not.
middle-aged.
So is last things. But no, you're not, Hudson, because you just told me what grade you were in 9/11, and I was not in the same grade as you, so suck it. You old troon.
Yeah.
All right, episode 47, Pinstripes and Poltergeists.
What?
Or no, 46.
No, this is Better Man.
The Better Man. Sorry, 46. This is a triad episode. This is with H. John Benjamin, more Tatiana. I'm not a big fan of the triad episodes. I'm going to be honest.
I think they're used just enough.
they're used just enough, but also I think that as creative as they are with like the Doctor Strange, you know, It's a Wonderful Day in the like esoteric neighborhood. They I'm glad they're sparing because I think they overstayed their welcome. Like I don't care that H. John Benjamin plays as like the master and that Dr. Orpheus is like a perpetually cucked tryhard. Like it's very hard for me to care. I just don't like the character all that much, I guess.
It is fun to watch H. John Benjamin play Tatiana and then fondle herself. That was a funny bit.
That came off as very AGP coded, but okay.
Sure did. The so
I'm gonna turn the gun on myself now.
and this one I'm gonna turn the band gun on myself.
The noise you hear is failure.
I just feel bad for Morpheus in this episode. He's always like, it seems like typically he's the slightly more sympathetic dad. Like he's a foil to Rusty Venture in that he's, I don't know, a slightly less debased, miserable, middle-aged, unmarried guy who's got a kind of a more authentic relationship with his daughter. And
but he was married. Like that's what makes this all the more better.
I guess what I'm saying, I appreciate not having to like Morpheus up until this point is not a character that you've had to like feel that like god awful pity for in the way that you do most of Rusty and his peers. And this movie is just his like, cucking for the most part.
Yeah, so again, we find out about like the what's the dude's name? The guy, the horseman,
The Outlander,
the Outlander,
or
Outrider.
Outrider. Yeah.
The guy that has
not the Auslander.
This is the Auslander.
House.
But say goodbye to our German audience because I think the German government just shut this down.
Oh no, our
they're now
fine
banned.
German listeners.
I know. Paul German listeners.
Nils Wegner can't listen anymore.
My one loyal German listener, Nils Wegner. No, it's a fun episode.
Der Venture Bludern.
Because again, you have sort of like a Hellraiser character, rides on a horse, goes through hell, cucks Dr. Orpheus, but also like he's a cheater and had like an implant in his brain. And again, this is another super science surgery courtesy of Billy Quizboy, who's an honorary member of the Triad, Brother Billy.
To avoid paying him.
Yeah, to avoid paying him again. So more of the Revenge Society. Also, this is the episode where we basically see Tatiana leave.
Triana,
sorry. I don't know why. Oh, Tatiana's the ex-wife.
Yeah,
the ex-wife. But yeah, so Triana leaves, and I think that's a good way to just like end that because I don't think it's not like Dean was ever gonna get her, and it's obviously implied that in the future Dean's gonna lose his hair and just be a sad dork. Like
We don't know that.
Rough.
Maybe he'll invent like Rogaine super science or keeps. Dean invents keeps.
Oh, God. So Triana walks into the Master's like realm, which has been in her closet the entire time. And her memory kept getting erased every time she discovered it. But she walks into there. The Master appears in the form of an older Dean Venture, paunchy, Norwood critical, and threatening to kill himself if she leaves him.
I like to think of the AI generated song with Nightmare Vision, Dr. BWC. He's a Gooner Norwood 5 chud with a heart as big as the sky. And that's like this Norwooded Dean. That's my immediate thought. Tells you how terminally online I am and how I should seek help.
Yes. The God, what is it?
You can borrow the gun next, Prude.
Yes.
I have the talking gun.
And essentially, the master says you need to leave. To Triana, you need to leave and go study magic with your mom. You're wasting your time here. Orpheus is,
Gets
this is
cucked
not
by
the
the Outrider
this is
and
not
loses
the right.
custody of his daughter.
Yeah, he is weirdly fine with it. Like it's pretty clear that the thing is that the Outrider is not a bad guy either. Like, so it's even worse. It's even worse for Orpheus that the Outrider is not a bad guy, because what do you do when you you meet your ex's new partner, and it's like, oh, you're not just like a piece of shit. Fuck, you're a person. And yeah, it's actually, if anything, so much worse for Orpheus that the home life is fine for Triana. But ultimately they end up the triad is able to save the day and close a portal to hell that is opened by their now dead archenemy Torrid. So yeah.
No, I don't have much to say on this one.
Yeah, it's sort of the penultimate appearance of Triana. She's in the season finale as well. Which
in Operation Prom.
So
do they bring her back? You guys can spoil it for me because I never watched the movie. Does she ever?
Oh no, she's fucking gone. Yeah.
Yeah, she's not. Wow. She's not in the movie.
Operation Prom is the series finale on Triana.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I think so.
Yes, she's never back.
Damn.
Which is fine. I found her like whatever. Like
it's like a leftover thread from season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically just Dean's sexual awakening, and there's not much else to her.
Right.
That's it.
Which is funny because he almost gets raped by the Quim sisters.
Wait, hold on. Prude, go back a minute. Prude, are you saying that there's more to women than my sexual awakening? I don't understand.
I don't know why he would ever I don't know why he would ever suggest something like that.
I don't know what to tell you. Their last things, you might need to have a long talk with your wife.
When I ask you that question, you have to imagine the 21 knife coming out of my wrist.
On the topic of
women. It's just a giant fucking blade to my throat as he's asking about women.
So in the reality influencing art realm of this, it should be noted that Lisa Hammer, the voice of Triana, and Doc Hammer got a divorce at the end of 2008. So
awkward.
Yeah. So basically, after the audio for this was recorded, there was not a whole lot more they had to do together. I'm not saying that's why Triana's character development got cut out of the show, but yeah.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
This show knows its audience so well.
Yeah. Poor Doc Hammer.
Divorce.
Hey boys, I hate to do this. I'm gonna have to drop out and go to bed.
No, you have to just drop.
Oh, I have to drop completely unceremoniously, like Triana did out of the series.
Exactly. You just leave.
Yeah, you just leave. Like Hudson has done the Irish goodbye. The last 2 episodes we've done this on. So
last things. What other episodes were you excited about?
I'll say. Oh, by the way, I'm not. It's Monday night. I'm not 3 sheets to the wind like Hudson probably was when he just bailed on you guys.
No, I don't. I do not put that many sheets in the wind that often. I just thought it'd be funny to leave.
Wow.
And it was.
That's like my personal nightmare if I'm hosting a stream, if somebody just decides to bail and I just have to do like
that's when you know you've made it.
Yeah, I guess so. It hasn't happened to me yet.
Last thing is, you should definitely invite me on the stream sometime. By the way,
No.
But, all right, before you go though, is there any other episode in season 4 that you
Well,
want to
I mean,
point out as a favorite or you like?
I mean, self-medication is probably my fave in this season. I mean, Prom, granted, that's like the Operation Prom's the hour-long special, right?
Yes, that's the season finale.
But that, I mean, that one's pretty memorable as well. I think often if I catch myself thinking and reminiscing and remembering the Adventure Brothers, I am somehow remembering Operation Prom. I think those would be the two like big highlights to this season. But you know, like they're all bangers. They really are.
That is true. That is very
And I'm
true.
sorry I'm a coward, but I'm the middle-aged millennial.
So last things before you disappear, where can people find you in your work?
Oh yeah. Well, you guys can just I'm Last Things 4 on Twitter. If you type in Last Things into YouTube, you'll find me. Last Things Co is my website, but it just basically refers you to Twitter and YouTube. But you guys got to keep being the Outriders. Get through episode 16. I'm gonna turn you on in the morning and see that you made it.
All right.
You sure will. We'll see
All
you.
right. I can't make that journey with you, but I will be with you in spirit.
Do you see where there are only 3 sets of footprints?
Yeah, exactly. That's because I went to bed.
They walk single file.
That
to
is
hide
when
their
you were
numbers.
sleeping.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for having
what's
me
in
on.
there? Only what you
Godspeed.
take fit you.
Good talking to y'all. Good
Have
luck.
a
Good night, LT.
Bye.
Take care.
And
All
then
right.
there were
And
3.
then there were 3.
Oh, bye.
I would be so pissed because we still have half a season to go
No,
through,
I
and then
know.
it's just going to be like the Cap and Prude show where it's the Venture Brothers retrospective.
I only do it because I know that Cap's here. Like if it were just the two of us, I wouldn't.
So I can. What you're saying is that if
Yeah,
I
no, you
leave
can-
right
You
now-
can disappear.
You can be the
Oh.
Hudson this time.
Okay. So I'm going to carry on. Then we're going to try and like burst through these as fast as possible. So this
Pinstripes
is
and
the
Poltergeists.
Pinstripes and Poltergeists. This was the mid-season finale.
Yep, this was when they took a break. They stopped airing episodes for, let's see, from December of 2009 to September of 2010. So there was a good 9-month gap there between this and the next episode. So in this one, they introduce, you get to see Monstroso for the first time, who has been only known via reference in the past. And so Monstroso
the
is
guild lawyer.
Yeah, is the crooked attorney for the Guild of Calamitous Intent.
I really like that his villain costume is just a suit with like those devil horns.
Yeah, it's
Like-
just
like-
yeah.
It's just the shittiest villain costume you could possibly think of.
So
Yeah, he just happens to be 8 feet tall and like 400 pounds.
yeah, he's sort of there are 2 Marvel's Kingpin, like Wilson.
I was about to say
Fisk.
Yep.
he's basically Kingpin.
Yeah, there are 2 of that character in this show. We see Monstroso, and then later on in the
Wide Whale.
last seasons, yeah, we'll see Wide Whale. Wide Whale is more of a proper.
He's more of a Tony Soprano, just because he's also
yeah,
Italian. And
he's more of a proper mafioso Goomba, whereas Monstroso is very put together, and
especially so Kingpin was originally a Spider-Man villain, but he later became more the villain of Daredevil. So the fact that he's wearing the Daredevil or the devil horns is kind of a nod to that.
Oh, I had never really read any of those, so I didn't know that. Interesting. No,
I didn't have many friends in high school, especially and I didn't talk to girls, so
It's funny because, I didn't have a
Explains
whole
a
lot of
lot.
friends in high school when I was in high school, but now that I'm 40, I have lots of friends in high school.
Oh, Sergeant Hatred.
Let me guess, you get older, they stay
I
the same
keep getting
age?
older. They stay the same.
Stop.
Anyway,
Get some help.
stop. Get some help. Like 9mm help.
I'm gonna use that one in future discussions I have with people. That's pretty good.
So, yeah, in this one, the monarch signs over arching rights to Monstroso. Monstroso engages in lawfare against Venture, and ultimately, I believe that they need to team up to get basically their rights back from Monstroso. So they have to. So the monarch and Venture end up working together on this. You also discover that the Sphinx. This is when it is revealed that the Sphinx hideout is on the Venture compound, and no one other than Rusty has known. They're like paying him rent or whatever.
Yeah.
And like Brock has been there the whole time.
No, they're not paying him rent. That's
he
part of
owes
the.
threatens back rent.
Yes.
Right.
That's part of the thing. He's like, oh, this solves everything. You guys just need to sign some papers, pay some back rent.
So okay, yeah, that's right. So that's what solves. That's what actually does solve it. And then you find out that Holy Diver, Sky Pilot, Hunter Gatherers, a bunch of other OSI mooks, and Brock have been there the whole season. The last 8 episodes, they've been hanging out on the Venture compound. Sphinx, yeah. You get a whole Sphinx intro and everything.
Intruder at the gate.
Is this also the episode where they have the conversation about the tasteful funeral and the jet?
No.
Okay,
that's later.
That's later. Okay.
Yeah, that's the Zeus episode, which
Oh,
is my
yeah.
favorite episode of the season.
Mournful.
Oh
God.
boy, yeah, but so again, this is where we get to find out about Sphinx.
There's got to be an age limit for being a stripper.
Unfortunately, there isn't. But so this is where we find out that like Sphinx has been resurrected, which is clearly a reference to Cobra versus G.I. Joe from the 80s. And they even make a reference to the 1980s. It's like, we thought you died in the Pyramid Wars in 87. It's like, well, the original Sphinx died, but we just took all their cool shit. And they're basically an independent agency that when you don't play by the guild or the OSI rules, Sphinx comes after you. Because if you are someone who's not in a leotard waving a laser gun at people, you're an actual threat to society, and we need to put you down. This is also the stink bomb B plot of sorts that plays out later because 21's like, what's that smell? It's from something else, to worry about it. But this is where they get to have this is the first encounter with Brock, Samson, and 21. We get a really cool fight, and you get to see that 21 can hold his own against Brock fucking Samson. Because the last time they saw each other, it was basically my turn to LARP with the laser sword that doesn't do anything and run away. But
that was all the way back in season 2, right?
Right, yeah.
Yep.
With the garage tag sale.
Yeah, that's where he picked up the lightsaber.
I've been
Tag sale is season 1.
Yeah, it's actually season 1. Yeah, but they exchange the exact same dialogue from season 1 in their first encounter, but he fights instead of running away. He does get knocked out though, but you know, I mean, it's really cool to see that like 21 went from fat nerd to like fat muscle being able to take on Brock Samson.
Built fat.
Like, that is really cool. It's a great illustration of character development that he's willing to take on, his rival. I really like it. It's a short fight. We don't get a lot of scenes of it, but just to know that it plays out is really, really rewarding as an audience member.
Especially since 21 knows how, or not 21. 21 knows how many of his brethren Brock has just straight up murdered.
Oh yeah. He's under like no illusions about how strong Brock is and how willing Brock is to kill someone. So he goes into it willingly. Brock does not give him a coup de grace or anything like that, but he does end up winning the fight, and earns Gary, formerly 21, Gary earns respect of the Reaper of Henchmen, Brock Sampson.
I love you, Brock Sampson. I was asking for it.
Let's see here. Yeah. And then there's
21's brought into Sphinx for a little bit.
Well, he doesn't have anywhere else to go for the moment.
Really doesn't.
He kind of becomes Sphinx.
Yeah, he really does.
No. He becomes Sphinx at the end of this season.
Yeah.
At the end of Operation Prom, he becomes Sphinx.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we'll get there.
But the seeds are planted.
The seeds are planted.
Also, this is where Brock is formally reintroduced back fully into the show.
Right, yeah, he gets integrated into the episodes. The first 8 or so have very light use of Brock.
Outside of the killing Hitler bit.
Right, outside of the first episode. And so you get some actual Brock scenes in the back half of the season. So let's see. The opener is the diving bell versus the butter glider.
And the lies that so many want to tell to ensure the innocence of Hank and Dean not being clones.
Oh yeah, because this is when they in the back half of this season, there are a few episodes that are basically dealing with some of Rusty's lingering guilt and some of the lingering consequences of the boys having died so many goddamn times.
But the boys never died.
The boys never died.
No, this isn't entertaining as I just dropped my phone all over it like mom spaghetti out of my pockets, but
it's ready.
Fun episode in the fact that it's one of those
a lot happens in this episode.
A lot really does. The King Gorilla gets out of prison to just die due to lung cancer is the implication, because he gets Monarch gives King Gorilla a pack of cigarettes,
a carton of cigarettes as a
gag gift or whatever. Or
didn't even have to trade Dean for it.
Yeah, didn't even have to trade Dean for it. Although
screw you, give me $1.
I did have to laugh at the statutory ape T-shirt. I thought that was a fun gag. But
right?
Also,
another canonically gay character.
Yeah, there's a lot of gay characters in this show.
Are you raping me?
Yeah, I couldn't get into it. You're shaped too much like a girl.
Isn't it like the first season where I think like Hank or Dean, or I think it's Hank, is just like, are you gonna molest me? Like, it's just like very straight to the point.
I think that is Showdown at Cremation Creek. Part 1.
It is.
Where Sergeant Hatred sits next to him.
That's Russian Guyevich.
Yeah, Russian Guyevich, to a point where he literally is like, so you're just gonna molest me or what? It's so bad. So yeah, like they do a C Lab joke, along with some Fantastic Voyage stuff, and they find so basically
Rusty's got a
Rusty
blood clot.
Rusty's got a blood clot. They do a house differential diagnosis joke. They bring in the little diving bell submarine to go undo the clot, and find a submarine with dead Hank and Dean inside a tiny sub inside of their dad's body.
Inside the clot.
Inside
Yeah.
the clot, in which
They
they
are the
lie.
clot, yeah.
You are the clot. The boys are literally the cause of potential death.
So that's what
Yeah.
happened to the Sevens.
Yeah.
Which, just great implication there that he knew they were dead, so he just unfroze some new clones, but he couldn't find their bodies and confirm it. Like, what if they just ran away and then you have an older set of? That's where I thought they were going to go in the movie, where there'd be like an older set of Hank and Dean out there in the world.
Mm.
Would have been a cool plot.
Yep.
Maybe we would have gotten that in season 8.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Something.
The movie commentary is so damn depressing.
Yeah.
It's all them talking about plots they didn't do.
It's all about season 8 plots.
They
and
had so
episodes
much for
they wrote.
Serena that they had to get rid of. Like,
Yeah.
the whole love triangle gets thrown away.
That's a whole other. We'll get to there when we get to there. So that's the. I guess that's that's the both the A plot and B plot come together for the finale, where 21 is flexing his muscle as the leader of the henchmen, and he's like, okay, screw this. I want some money to give us better shit, and I have a budget proposal presentation for it. And then, just like an asshole Green Goblin does, he fly in the Monarch on his butter glider. And he becomes like my precious levels of obsessed with it, to where he's
even
singing.
a musical number.
There's a musical number. Also, I have the cough download I have for this season is all uncensored. So just listening to these guys, like he slaps Dr. Mrs. the Monarch away, and he's just like, get the fuck away from me. Like, you've always been jealous of me and the butter glider. And so, like, this entire season for me has been uncensored, and there's actually not a lot of cursing in this entire season at all, but when it's done, I think it's done tastefully, as much as you can do cursing.
Yeah, at least it's not like it became Rick and Morty later, where it's just a curse word bleeped out every 2 seconds.
Yeah, this season is very
tame.
Tame about it.
But don't worry, guys, we're getting another season of Rick and Morty.
Oh God, and we didn't get season 8 of this. I'm really upset. So, on top of this, Dr. Girlfriend gets upset, and obviously the henchmen are pissed. She encourages the henchmen to go on strike, and to get the Monarch jealous, they raid the Venture compound on their own. Since Sergeant Hatred's out there, he's like, whoa, guys, we got a medical emergency. Guild rules say you can't do this. And they all take off their little butterfly goggles. They're like, we're not with the guild. No guild rules. And we get Hatred getting shot with tranq darts, injects adrenaline straight into his chest. I am overweight, over 50. I am speedballing tranquilizer and pure adrenaline. I might be having a heart attack. It's really entertaining. But yeah, they're inside they penetrate the blood-brain barrier, and so Dr. Venture is autonomically just beating the shit out of the Monarch, and the roles of Hank and Dean will be played by Billy Quizboy and Pete White. Didn't you go to state?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you did the radio show.
There you go. Finally, some less dead air. Well done, gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is it's hard to like keep the quotes in line for a double season. This is double season.
Yeah, this one is a longer episode. Also, it is fun to listen to Doc Hammer get really upset. He's like, I think musical numbers are retarded because I have this like little boy screaming at me saying, "Don't do this, it's cringe." The art book is fun. It's just like, I don't know how Trey Parker and Matt Stone do so many musical bits in their show.
Because they're gay.
No.
No,
That-
no, completely straight.
Complete. Oh man. Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but there's Hatred does a Music Man reference.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
He's got tickets to a Broadway show and
Got tickets to a Broadway. Yeah.
truly embracing the more flamboyant side of being a pedophile.
All he needs is a Harvey Milk poster.
Oh God.
That's what the Thailand visits are for.
Would
So yeah,
you like a little brother or sister?
Oh, beautiful boy, girl.
so Pomp and Circuitry, we get the return of Dr. Impossible. Or Professor Impossible, whatever you call him.
Professor.
Professor Impossible. So again, obviously a Fantastic Four character is Reed Richards, excuse me. But he's a character we see actually in the pilot, the original rough pitch of the show. Like his character model is in there, and he was the one who's got the ozone emitting electric hybrid car that can fix the ozone layer and not contribute to fossil fuels. And then of course Doc brings up the death ray.
Yeah.
But yeah. Also, Baron Unterbite comes back.
Yep, I was going to mention that because the Revenge Society, you could almost say that the Revenge Society is just a place for Doc and Jackson to put characters they don't know what to do with.
It really is. Yeah. The Revenge Society is it's so rough. It almost feels like they threw Underbite in the last
because Professor Impossible, like he's had some really good gags, but he really gets as soon as Sally left him to
Broken Man. Yeah,
it's just like, okay, there's just nothing left to do with you. Like I don't know. His bit kind of got played out, and he was only a decent character when he was ignoring his wife.
Yeah. I mean, so in this one, it is so the Revenge Society is starting to operate out of Impossible Industries Tower in New York. This is where it, like, after this season,
you're in the germ-free zone,
right? Pull yourself together. After this season, you really stop being at the compound so much.
Yeah, there's really way more diversity in terms of the location and set pieces.
Yeah,
this is also where we get to see State University and references to New York, because that's where Professor Impossible is based in, is New York.
Yep.
I had no idea that Bill Hader was Professor Impossible.
Well, originally it was Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I knew that, and that's why now looking at.
But then he got too famous for them to continue using his voice, and they didn't want to write the character out for some reason. But
it sucks that Stephen Colbert got famous at all.
Yeah, it's true. That's truly an American tragedy.
Yes, the real loser here is everyone.
America.
Yeah. Okay, so the learning beds finally print off some diplomas for Hank, or for Dean, and then eventually Hank, after they find out that the dot matrix printer was just jammed. And so they go to visit State University. Rusty assumes that he can just waltz in and get Dean in as a legacy. That is not true.
When's the last time you donated anything?
And we also see a few thing. We see Brisby. We see Mr. Brisby again at
a great callback.
At the what is it? The the dedication of a new Frank Gehry inspired shitty university building. And
the Brisbee Corp CGI Impossible Science Center.
right.
And that's actually apparently it looks a lot like the Walt Disney Concert Hall.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep, in LA.
Is that a Frank Gehry building?
I'm guessing so.
Let's find out. Yeah, it is a Frank Gehry building.
You can tell by
Oh,
how it is.
You can tell by how it looks like a crumpled up piece of fucking bullshit. Yeah.
Simpsons did it, Cap.
What?
That there's an episode of The Simpsons where they have Frank Gehry. Marge writes him a letter to get him to make a concert hall for them. So he crumples it up and then throws it on the ground, and he's like, "Huh," and then builds it based on that.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's what it looks like. Okay. Anyhow.
Also, college career choices. Remember, there are 3 types of Batman.
Oh, right. Yeah. Hank fills out a paper, and his choices are drifter, which is like the opposite of a career. Owner operator of Chimp Eden. Batman, a different type of Batman, and Secutor, which is a kind of gladiator.
But it's funny
Yeah.
too because he gets trained by Sphinx, and like Hunter tries to get him to go away, basically. But Hank could have been a great agent, and will probably like in the future be a good secret agent, a la Brock.
I think Doc and Jackson have made it very clear that like Hank will be on the moon one day. Like it doesn't really matter what happens to Hank. Like he's just got the drive and charisma
He's
to
just Hank.
succeed.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Although because he goes to Sphinx initially because he's like, I'm going to join the army, and Sergeant Hatred's like, best decision of my life, and it's just like that is not a winning endorsement of the military at all. So I mean, like
awesome,
we get the Revenge Society, which sets up the next episode No, it sets up an episode later with
it sets up the double episode of everybody
comes to Hanks and
Flash
and the
Bright Light City. Yeah.
And everybody comes to Hanks.
Yeah.
We're gonna the next episode though, are we done with
I just like that Hank naturally knows how to beat the mind eraser machine with a tinfoil hat. Like he's just constantly pissing off hunter gatherers. Like, actually, I know your tricks because I've grown up with this shit.
Yeah, beats every single one. He's clearly qualified. They should have just let him in.
They should have just made him an agent.
Should've.
I think that would have been a better plot direction for Hank. But yeah, episode 50, Any Which Way But Zeus.
This is my favorite episode.
Every side character you have ever seen, from Trucules to the Revenge Society's IT guy, they're all kidnapped by allegedly the Greek god Zeus.
What if
Ghost
it's
Robot is
Zeus?
back. Oh yeah, and everyone's kidnapped
Zeus.
or not everyone's kidnapped. Everyone volunteers to come to this like council because everyone's been affected. So all these all these random groups, like the Canadian one with the shark guy, whom apparently Brock fucked his wife, but also I like that. What is it? Watch and what's his name?
Ward.
Watch and Ward. They're like, well, you need to sign these forms because we're going to drain your blood to steal your powers.
You'll get your blood back at the end.
And if you die, your next of kin gets a nice giant bag of blood and a really nice card. And again, it's all played completely straight. And then again, this is where we're introduced to General Treister, which is just really fantastic. There's like 3 plots in this entire.
This one is complicated.
This one's got all sorts of shit. You get henchman number 1, i.e. henchman 0. You get
not henchman 0.
Just 0. I hench for no man.
That's true. You get the original Captain Sunshine, and then the kidnapping of Rusty by Sergeant Hatred and Dean.
So
and
Rusty
the Cuddle
finds out,
And
Bear,
Hank.
I love you, and
So-
Hank. Yeah.
so Rusty finds out that all of these people are getting kidnapped, and he feels like, well, obviously I'll be kidnapped.
So we'll
And
just
nobody
kidnap him instead.
and he puts out a sign that's it's like, unguarded kidnap now, like all this
The
bullshit.
real Rusty Venture. I
The
think
real
it's-
Rusty Venture. Yeah, exactly. So he assumes that he rates, but the Zero does not want to kidnap him. He has no beef with Rusty Venture, and so
Oh,
Hatred-
there's a
Hatred-
great bit where
Hatred
they're
and Hank-
torturing him.
Hatred and Hank kidnap him and tie him to a chair, and Hank wants to hit him in the balls with a knotted rope, but it's just a wooden chair with a wooden bottom. Hank didn't know to cut the bottom of the chair out. So he just hits the bottom of the chair for like an hour.
Which is totally getting off of Casino Royale.
Yes.
Yep. And there was they accidentally let it slip that they're them for a second, and these because they mentioned Dean, and Rusty's like, no, don't touch Dean, whatever you do, like do it to me. And everybody Hatred's impressed, and then Hank's like, we also have Hank. Rusty's like, all right, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. At Hank, yeah, Rusty does not
value
Rusty
Hank whatsoever.
does not value Hank. And he
Hank
also
fights it, whereas Dean wasn't meant for this. He's got boy adventuring thrust upon. Like he has his own weird woe is me shit
Justification.
that I'm gonna like justify as taking his shit out on his sons.
and this is also the introduction of Teddy, who
Let's cuddle.
we unexpectedly meet again later.
He tries to negotiate with the teddy bear,
Which is effectively a Teddy Ruxpin. It's just a
a
battery operated doll that can say a couple phrases.
That's such. Oh man, that's a good one.
I like in
So-
the art book, Hank and Hatred are wearing copyright-free Hulk and copyright-free Optimus Prime masks, both of which we own.
I did have that Optimus Prime mask, and honestly, it has one of the like most effective vocoders I have ever seen in my goddamn life.
No,
It is-
don't activate your robots.
So if I ever need to respawn as a racist alternate Altanon Twitter account, I'm going to use that vocoder.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
you'll
wonder-
sound like Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I wonder
Well-
if that's what Zero HP Lovecraft uses.
Absolutely not. You would be able to understand what he said if he used that. He has the worst vocoder.
Or the best one.
No, he has a great vocoder because I know exactly what he calls his cat.
Mittens, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
But yes, everyone. I also like this episode because in the whole Zeus fight stuff, we actually get to see a little bit of a character inside of Shore Leave, and he just like flat out calls Pete White a queer.
Oh yeah. Says that he's a closeted coward. He calls him a sissy. He repeatedly calls him a sissy.
Yeah.
You
But-
guys are going to that strip club again. You make
Oh,
that dirty
yeah.
place sound. You make that wholesome place sound dirty, you bastard. And this is the episode with the tragic tits.
Yeah, this is the episode.
Oh yeah. So
I just
on
wanna-
their way back, they're in a supersonic jet. Obviously, the strip club constantly has jets parked outside of it, and Brock is in the back seat. Hunter is in the front seat. They're like, "Oh, did you see Rosie cornered me last night?" And he's like, "Oh God, that woman has the gloomiest tits." And they go off. There's just like this long riff
It's like a
At
5-minute
least a
tangent.
minute, yeah.
Yeah,
least, yeah.
talking shit like,
About this
I want
woman.
to give her, I want to build 2 tiny caskets and give her tits a dignified burial.
Like she stuffed $1 worth of change in a sock and taped it to her chest.
Mournful
Mournful
tit.
tits.
And then before that,
It's like
when
2 eggs stapled to a telephone pole.
I like the part where Shortleave gets kidnapped by Zeus. Where Zeus is like, "Come with me," and he's like, "I've been waiting for this since I was 9." Like, oh boy, that's
Dude.
rough.
Do you? Well, he's there's a deleted. There's a in the deleted scenes. There's an extended cut of that where he's like, "Oh, but wait, this isn't my pumpkin carriage. This is an M4A1." And so Shore Leave obviously tried to fight before he was successfully kidnapped. But this also has the voice acting of Mike Lazo. Mike Lazo is the secret conference is held in a bunker under a golf course. The green lifts up and Mike Lazo witnesses it and is immediately
I've never
killed by
gotten to
card
do
holder.
that. He was
Yeah.
knocked out.
You got shot in the back of the head.
No, just in the back. It's okay. They're gonna wake up soon.
They definitely died. It even says in the book they get murdered.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you on that one.
But they're the good guys.
They're just sleeping, Hudson. They're
Just like my
sleeping.
favorite album is called The Bearer of Bad News. I hate to be Andy Schauf on this one, but you might want to drink your rivers. It's not going to be a good time for you.
It's okay. My goldfish in the corner here is just sleeping too. So
Elmo's World.
He smells when he sleeps.
And he sleeps upside down, obviously.
Yeah, Dorothy. Also, I like that this whole fight thing is nothing but just like a sort of a fun time for Gary. He's just like the robot ghost is like, if you spare my life, like if you hit my chest, I will not die. And he's like, on the count of 3, and then like he just kills him. He's just like, yeah, this is fun. Like I'm in it to just win it and kill. Like this is a competition for me.
Yeah.
So,
although Ghost Robot, you cannot be killed in such a manner.
Yes, he can.
Nope.
Yeah, he's dead.
No, he survives.
What?
Comes back.
Bullshit.
In what episode?
Ghost Robot definitely comes back.
Don't make me consult the wiki.
I really like also all of the code names that they
Dreister gives them.
Yep. There's Agent Kelly Clarkson,
Topanga Lawrence,
Agent Orville Redenbacher, Agents Keenan and Kel. I just want to say I hate our code names. And Agents Matthew Perry.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Let me see.
Also, and to move on, episode 51. This is sort of like a one side of the coin about everyone's summer vacation. Because we know that Dean goes to intern at Impossible Industries, which is a fucking disaster. And episode 51 is the film noir. Everyone comes together.
Everybody comes to Hanks.
Everybody comes to Hanks. But Doc Hammer says this is odd because we were supposed to write this episode together. But Doc Hammer writes half his script in one day. And Jackson Public was like, he gave me 22 pages of Hank doing stuff. And he was like, just finish the episode. This is really good. So we get the film noir episode where Hank runs like a fake grocery store, restaurant, and detective agency in one of the warehouses on the compound. And we get a film noir parody where 2 unemployed dudes, the Alchemist and Billy Quizboy, also play along with it to figure out who is Dermot's father. On one hand, Dermot's mom says it's Brock Sampson, and then no one believes that at all. Even Brock is like, I've never been that drunk nor that desperate to go bang someone that mournful. There's also Dermot's sister. We'll get into that later.
Dermot's hot sister.
One of the few female characters in this entire show, by the way.
This episode makes me so sad.
Why?
Because in the creepiest way, Doc could have had happiness in his life.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, well, I guess so.
Like as this season's so fucked up.
So okay,
yeah,
there's a lot of diddling this season.
There's the sobering reminder that actually, this is a really fucked up world to live in.
The sobering reminder that pedophilia is not just same sex.
It wasn't pedophilia.
It was statutory rape.
Phebophilia.
Cap, I think you just outed yourself as a libertarian.
I have make no bones about that. I have had a libertarian past. Yeah,
Freak.
but hey, you know what? We all walk our own paths.
You sick fuck.
That's the worst thing I've heard
17
tonight.
years old, 364 days, 23 hours, and 59 minutes old. You sick bastard. So yeah, we get a film noir story where everyone sort of plays into Hank's like Indiana Jones, Dick Tracy bit.
Well, it's sort of.
I mean, he
plays in is like kind of belittling it. He is emitting such perfect vibes that everyone else is swept along by his charisma.
I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite
he
episodes.
Is killing
this
Bogart.
Yeah,
this is probably one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Yep.
Okay, so the opening of this episode, Doc, Dean, and Hatred go to New York. Hatred does his little thing about seeing the Music Man. It's great. And Hank stays behind and
founds Hank
and opens Hank Co., which we've seen before. Hank Co. was in Tag Sale You're It.
Yep.
So Hank has always had this like this entrepreneurial spirit. He's wanted
because it's
to,
Hank Co., Hank's Cafe, and Hank Co. Detective Agency.
Yep, Hank Co. Notaries.
Yeah.
So he.
Speaking of people who were famous before their time, Nikki and her mom are played by Kate McKinnon.
Oh yeah,
before SNL fame.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pre SNL Kate McKinnon.
Yep.
Back when she was straight.
I don't know anything about Kate McKinnon other than the name.
She is like a little Dutch boy. She puts her fingers in dikes.
Nice. Alrighty. Well,
alrighty then.
Oh, that makes you uncomfortable. We just talked about Sergeant Hatred's pedophilia for like an hour.
No. I was just getting back to the
little too familiar there, Kat.
No. I looked up Kate McKinnon, and I didn't know what her face. I didn't know what she looked like, and I was just thinking, oh yeah, she's kind of cute. What a tragedy! What a tragedy that she's
what
a
a tragedy! So true.
No, my quirky mids.
Hey man, you know what?
Every
water
man
finds its own level.
Quirky mid of his own.
Okay. So he opens this thing up. Dermot's working for him, and Dermot needs a ride home. He says that he's going to try to find Dermot's mom because he just can't get her on the phone. Eventually, she shows up, but while they were waiting, Dermot discloses that he thought Brock Sampson was his dad. Hank, and then what Prude said, they go down this whole rabbit hole. But the minute that Hank puts on his detective hat, which is it came with a detective whip. So
clearly an Indiana Jones
costume that he's just misinterpreting. The everything goes black and white, and it's film noir, and he talks like
And
a
it's
hard
so
detective.
good.
Yeah, he talks like a Raymond Chandler novel. So,
And the episode itself is a the title to the episode is a reference to Everybody Comes to Rick's, which is the play that turned into Casablanca.
right. And Hank
Just with a
later
lot
wears
less quasi incest.
right.
Not a
Well,
lot less.
is this? It's not.
No, but technically you're banging the sister of your bastard half brother.
You're banging the mother of your bastard half brother. You got
No,
your
no,
dad.
no,
You got
no.
your dad's sloppies.
No, yeah. On top of that, but no, because Hank screws Dermot's hot sister.
/
Except-
mom.
Except that's his mom. That's Dermot's mom.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck,
yeah,
yeah.
no, everything's fine. They're just half brothers.
Yeah.
So anyway,
He banged Dermot's mom.
so it is Hank and the alchemist go around, try to get information. He ends up like absolutely spitting game at
Nikki.
Dermot, at who he believes to be Dermot's sister.
Nikki Fichtel.
Nikki, yes. Eventually they get a set of keys with a venture fob on it, which was allegedly left behind by his father, by Dermot's father, so Dermot says. He gets those keys. They run out of Al and Hank run out of leads. Hank goes to bring some flowers to Nikki based on a conversation they had, and they fuck. Al, meanwhile, is with Orpheus, and they're like, why don't we just use magic to solve this? So they cast a spell on these keys to look at the past of the object. So they see a scene from 18 years ago or whatever, when Rusty is standing in the Fichtel trailer, and Nikki is there, much younger, very pregnant, and Nikki's mom, the one that everyone believes to be Dermot's mom, is shouting at her, how could you do this? She's only 15 years old. Rusty's like,
shit,
I
she's
thought
15?
she was 20. I thought she was 20.
She's the president of your fan club. Are you a big proud man now?
Yeah, that must have been so difficult for you. Rusty wants to
marry her.
Yeah, he legitimately loves her. Which
Rusty's like, no, I want to be as honest as I can be in the circumstances or whatever. And Dermot's and the mom basically pushes him out, says, you're gonna pay us, and this will go away, or we can just drag it out and
threaten
and you'll
statutory
lose everything.
rape
Yeah,
charges.
and this is statutory rape. You'll lose everything. And she says to Nikki, you can keep the baby. I'll raise it as my own. And Orpheus and Al are like, what the fuck? Why did we I immediately regret uncovering this
cursed
information
thing imaginable.
Yeah, I immediately regret that. So Al goes to see Hank, throws the keys onto Hank's desk. They start talking.
The spell was not reversed.
The spell was not reversed. Spell was still active. Starts talking to Hank. Hank starts speaking in his noir voice. Al's like, take the hat off. He's like, I had sex. It was great. everything is different now because of sex.
Because of sex.
And so true, King. So
Only
true.
to have that brutally taken away from him
And
as he realizes
and
he
that
sleeps
he
with the same
touches
woman.
the keys, realized he got his dad's sloppy seconds, and immediately goes to Sphinx to erase his memory.
Pukes in the hat, by the way.
Pukes in the hat. Pukes in the hat.
But
Can't
also,
wear the hat again.
also because of the Sphinx memory wipe thing, we find out that Al broke up with his boyfriend because he got super possessive over shore leave. He'll get his mind wiped again, obviously. And then the episode ends with a delightful pre-mind wipe voice message where Hank says, "Listen, you had to get your memory wiped, but I needed to tell somebody, and obviously you trust me, so we had sex." And it's
he records a video of himself on his own video watch. His own communicator watch.
It's
and he was like
naked
because I'm
skydiving
you, because I'm
into a
you.
warm bowl of whipped cream.
I know that sounds amazing, and it is. Yeah.
He gets to tell like the best virginity losing story without the cursed knowledge that he fucked his dad's sloppy seconds.
Yep.
His half brother's mother.
Yep. No problem. No problem here for Hank. Like ultimately, but
like it's consequence free.
Yeah.
Because although this raises weird questions, because clearly this implies Nikki is still super obsessed with Rusty.
No, she's not obsessed with Rusty. She's obsessed with the idea of Rusty, not the actual Rusty.
Yeah, I get that.
I still wonder if they could have been
she's
happy
still
together.
willing to go out of her way to fuck his kid.
I mean, yeah. I mean, so what happens? What happens to people who? What happens to people who get molested or have inappropriate sexual relationships when they're too young? They do that to other people. And
enough about Sergeant Hatred.
But enough about Sergeant Hatred and also Nikki. But I'm sure she's like,
and King Gorilla.
I'm sure she's a
statutory ape.
She teaches high school freshmen.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
She'll be on that Twitter account Mugshotties eventually.
So you like Rusty Venture, eh? I can give you a Rusty Venture.
Oh,
we're not there
yet. Rusty Venture is a straight move.
We're not there yet. All right, so this is one side of the coin over the summer vacation.
The other one is Bright Lights Dean City.
And I'm going to let you two take this one while I walk my dog. So take it away, boys.
Okay. Well, Bright Lights Dean City is what you see what happens to Dean, Hatred, and Doc Venture when they go to New York to see a musical. Hatred leaves pretty rapidly, but Dean lands Dean lands an internship at Impossible Industries.
There's a great bit of one. Dean is oblivious to all of this, so he's working for Professor Impossible, who is just full-timing the Revenge Society. You've got
Dean everyone else is laid off, essentially.
Yeah,
no one else works.
Dean's setting up interviews for members of the society, but Dean has no idea. Which is it's really funny. And my favorite gag for Professor Impossible is that whenever he decides he wants to be a villain, he just changes his pipe.
Yes, yeah. He puts on a little domino. He puts on a domino mask, and it like has a pipe with a skull on it, instead of just a regular pipe bowl. There are a bunch of funny interviewees who try out for the Revenge Society. One is Beastradamus, who is Nostradamus and like a basically beast from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. There's Brick Frog,
my favorite.
Which is
Brick Frog.
Brick Frog, get out.
Lady Hawk Johnson and Lyndon B, who are just based on President Lyndon B. Johnson
and
his
Lady
wife
Bird
Lady
Johnson.
Bird.
Yeah.
And
At night,
he's a man.
He is a man in a bee. He is a man with some like bee wings strapped to his back, and she is an actual hawk.
And
in
in
the
day,
daytime,
she's dressed up as a hawk and as a real lady, and he is a bee.
an actual bee. Yeah.
Giant Indian, which is just a play on Apache Chief from not even DC Comics, but the DC Super Friends show.
Yeah,
from the
in a
70s.
chuck.
Enoch Chuck.
Yeah,
he just gets a little bigger.
Yeah, except this guy just gets, he just stands on his tiptoes. Actually, he has no powers. None at all.
He goes from manlet to Chad.
Then there's Mr. Polygamy and the several Mrs. Polygamies, who are effectively his henchmen.
And the Scare Bear.
Which is a frankly terrifying.
And the fact that nothing ever comes of that.
It would have been great if they had reused Scare Bear. Yeah.
Well, they do. He brings Hank to find out what Dean and his girlfriend are doing.
Oh, right.
It's the Scare Bear.
But there's no payout. Yeah.
No, there's no that it's such a big payoff there, and that's the one thing that pisses me off about this show is that there are so many things that could later be paid off that they just can't pay off everything.
Well, the thing is that, man, I have terrible news for you about this show, because a lot of the really great payoffs in that do exist in the show are from things that you never thought would.
Yeah, exactly.
That you thought were throwaways.
There was there was one throwaway line in the Zeus episode where I think it's Dragoon. No, it's either Red Mantle or Dragoon. Is like, what if it's actually Zeus, like the Greek god, and he's all pissed off because nobody cares about Zeus anymore. And General Treaster's like, I'm just gonna say no to that. Like that has such a big implication for the wider metaphysics of the world, and never gets brought up again.
Well, I mean, it's just they're willing to believe anything, right? Anything is on the table, right? For them, it doesn't mean that they have other examples of pagan gods existing,
right?
But I mean, we know magic exists, so
we also know that one of the Moppets is Catholic.
Oh yeah, that's true. Hallowed ground.
It's a Catholic hospital, hallowed ground. We see, I think I don't know the name.
It was Kevin.
Kevin. Okay.
Yeah, Tim Tom is not allowed to be Catholic.
Whereas Kevin kisses his crucifix and he's like, yeah, it's hallowed ground. And it's like, okay.
As much as I hate them, that's such a good bit.
So, and then there's also Fat Chance, who we talked about at the beginning, who was a leftover from the Tick. In the art book, it is revealed.
About Scare Bear already?
We did.
Yep.
Oh, okay. What a great character to get referenced later.
Yeah. We were just talking about how unfortunately it's never fully paid off.
Well, yeah. So much of the end of season 6 is never paid off.
So let's see here. But Brick Frog was based on a joke that Jackson Public's cousin told, because when they were kids, he had a sort of a foam rubber frog mask that looked exactly like the Brick Frog thing, and his cousin he was playing like superheroes with his cousins, and one of his cousins put the frog thing on and picked up like a fake construction brick, and said, "I'm Brick Frog," and it just stuck with him because it's so fucking stupid.
But even that gets paid off.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do see Brick Frog.
Brick Frog actually gets the biggest payoff out of all these.
Brick Frog will return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes. But all of these assorted rogues get these tryouts. You also see for the first time. I want to call him Brown Recluse, but it's the Brown Widow.
Yeah, the Brown Widow. Oh yeah, that's Nathan Fillion, by the way.
Yeah, it
which
is.
is voiced by Nathan Fillion.
That's a good get.
You mean Dutch? I mean, you mean Buck from ODST? Great.
You mean that guy from Destiny 2?
You mean
that guy from
Captain Hammer?
Castle?
You mean
the guy from Serenity?
You mean Space Confederate?
He was also the Green Lantern in
What?
the Green Lantern animated show.
Oh, interesting.
And he was supposed to be the Green Lantern in real life, but then he aged out.
But then they found out that there weren't real lantern rings.
It was specified in his contract.
The other Private Ryan from Saving Private Ryan?
Oh shoot, that was Nathan Fillion.
Really? Wow.
Wow.
We're just going through Nathan Fillion's IMDb now. That's the rest of the
Oh man.
You mean Sterling from Cars 3?
Dude, I wanted
I'm just
to
trying not
that
to name
kid
his
in the
character
face.
from Firefly, so yeah.
Oh,
You already said that.
My brothers are dead.
Yeah, it was Nathan Fillion.
Wow. He's so young there. I always forget Vin Diesel's in that movie.
In what movie?
Saving Private Ryan.
So is
really?
Ted Danson.
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, it's a real who's who of people that you've seen before.
Yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk about.
You mean Master Warrant Officer Tom Jardine from the TV movie Ordeal in the Attic from 1993?
Are we talking about Ted Danson now?
That's Nathan Fillion's first credit on IMDb. Never mind. All right.
Put you down.
All right.
You mean Sam from Cheers?
So let's see. Yeah, so Dean is completely oblivious to this supervillain organization forming around him. His dad is loves musical theater so much that he becomes inspired and wants to write a musical. Proceeds to start writing the Rusty Venture musical in the shoebox apartment that Dean is renting next door to the Brown Widow. They have a few little conversations in the episode, but
they decide that the Brown Widow, who is the Spider-Man knockoff of this universe, he's gonna shit web.
But it's the Brown Widow.
It's one of
the gag is very straightforward.
I know
it's such
a good gag, and he's the guy I guess the Flash Thompson archetype throws a can at him, and he's got like his 5-minute Spidey sense where he could easily just dodge it, and then he shits his pants.
Oh my god. Ultimately Hank ends up or Dean ends up losing his job, and Rusty's musical ends up getting burned down along with Impossible Industries Tower.
So you know who makes an appearance in this episode?
Go for it.
Sky from the Everybody's Free opening to season 2, who Rusty wants to have a child with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's just walking around New York.
Oh, interesting. Huh. We're gonna have a child. There is a deleted scene for this one that is amazing. Because it would have completely changed the course of, I mean, the rest of this season, probably the rest of the show, actually. Because after it was a post-credit scene that was after the Impossible Industries tower is burned down, you see Phantom Limb and Professor Impossible at Phantom Limb's hideout, the one that he used when he attached Dragoon's head to Red Mantle's shoulder. And they're sitting there planning, you know, what to do next. Impossible's like, you know, I do still have a research station in the Arctic if you want to go there and burn that down. And then down the chimney comes Dr. Henry Killinger and offers them his services because they are down and out.
I like to think that the penguins from Madagascar are at that research base.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Or sprechen Sie English?
Never explained.
God damn it.
Did you know that, by the way, Mr. Polygamy is based on Mitt Romney?
He looks like it.
What gave that away? The spitting image of him.
Or as we
Tell
like
us
to call
more
him,
about this special underwear.
or as we like to call him, Pierre Delecto.
Yeah. I want to know the alt account of some of... I want to know Ted Cruz's alt Twitter account.
He doesn't need one anymore. He can like all the porn he wants.
That's true.
Sex gifts.
Nothing but pornos.
Sex frog. That's Ted Cruz's alt.
Sex frog.
I do like the Lyndon B. Johnson and Lady Bird bit.
Yep.
It's a dumb bit, but it's good.
It's also just so like that they how did they consummate their marriage?
On an eclipse, obviously.
Amazing.
They made that very clear. So can we get to another personal favorite of mine, assisted suicide?
Canadian healthcare.
Yes, made. So due to some brainwave computer tech, the Monarch is inside the control room. So there's some fun sophistry philosophy if you want to have fun with that. About trying to kill himself. So I'm already screwing the YouTube algorithm here, but we talked about loving, a Hitler dog in the first 5 minutes. So it's already ruined. But essentially, the Monarch is trying to get Rusty to end his own life. Also, we learned that Brock's car had been converted to electric. But now we get to meet the id, super ego, death drive, and Eros, all played by we get Giga Chad Rusty Venture, which is great. Pete White plays his death. Billy Quizboy is Eros. And they're all on his mind. Some of his most prized possessions. An autographed Laurie Anderson picture. Money, trappings of science, an old Rush cassette, which is a guilty pleasure for Doc. I'm a huge fan of Rush. It's great prog rock. And then some of his other stuff is like Speed Suit and some science medals. But at the same time, this is when Dr. Girlfriend and 21 gets super drunk and make out a little bit, which also they're in ball gag and cheerleading costume because there's a mandatory inspection. So it's like a weird, creepy three-way type deal that the Moppets walk in on.
Well, while the Monarch is
totally unconscious and dead.
hooked up to a brain transmitter so that he can pilot Rusty's body. Yeah. There are
it's a great episode.
It's a really cool conceptual episode.
Yes.
This is another episode where they deal with with Rusty's buried guilt from all of his dead sons.
All of them.
Because there is so
many
army of dead children.
Many dead kids
that are literally tearing apart his consciousness.
That and his harem.
His dead sons.
He also has the and this is an awesome concept, the invisible harem. Have either like so
the Rusty.
Yeah, Rusty's invisible harem. So his id is keeping basically, so it's the harem, it's Myra, a random woman in a headset that's like some receptionist he saw one time or something, a like Suicide Girls looking nurse, Sally Impossible, Molotov cocktease,
Dr. Quim,
and then Dr. Quim. And
Dr. Mrs. the Monarch.
Was she in there?
Yeah, she's on that list.
Okay. So essentially the concept of the invisible harem is every woman Rusty thinks he could sleep with.
And he's right about half of them.
He's right about half of them. Yeah,
You know.
I'm probably not Sally anymore.
No, but the fact,
But he
like,
has,
even
but
back
like
then,
half that list has also actually touched him.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, 3 of them have actively tried to have sex with him. So, and weird that Nikki is not on the list, actually.
Yeah.
well, she was 14, you sick bastard.
Well, she's not anymore.
Not anymore.
He hasn't seen her in how long?
Oh, who knows? Who knows? She comes to the compound apparently, but
yeah. So Jackson Public says it's a common. It was a phrase his friends in college would use as a list of women you're pretty sure you could sleep with.
Yeah.
Sometimes you never see him again. Sometimes they're friends with benefits, but you never know. They get into the harem.
I can cede the fact that this concept is very real, and I feel like every guy has this mental.
That is absolutely true.
I'm a married man. I don't know what you're talking about.
You fucking liar.
Yes, but if you're looking at someone that way and you're married, you've already committed adultery in your heart. Sorry, Jesus answered this
Look,
question
it's
for
just
you.
not. It's just knowledge.
Just knowledge. Yeah.
I don't know, Cap. You're really digging yourself into some holes
my
tonight.
fucking god. Anyway,
Yeah.
so everyone in my
Yeah.
invisible harem is at least 17 years, 364 days.
You a phebophile.
Yes.
You libertarian fuck.
Oh my god.
Also, I like the Dead Boy clones that we have because all of them are a callback to all of the deaths that we see in the opening of season 2. The running with scissors, the explosions, the getting crushed, the arrow through the head, the
silent
for both
killer.
of them.
the gas leak death. And I like the fucking Hank in the bat costume, all broken and bloodied from trying to jump off the roof. And one of them is where he's dressed as Evel Knievel and burnt up in a fiery explosion. It's so good. But totally explains, of course, that actually maybe Rusty is not a totally shitty person because he actually does regret what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when he asks Brock if he's a bad person, and Brock says, like, no, you're not, but you also are. You suck, but there's also a good Blade Runner reference where 21 says the Tears in Rain speech.
Yes,
just a good, really well done.
And it's also a payoff for 21 because the spirit of 24 has been like, she's totally into you. Her breasts were smushed right up against you.
How did you not notice? Yeah.
I'm hanging out with Rasputin and James Doohan.
Also, we get a great... Is that... Yeah, because it's literally the next episode with the silent partners.
21 is in love with your wife. He pasted her face on a bunch of softcore. Check his computer. The file that says special software. There are tons of them.
I do like it when he's like, I'll help you check out the venture compound, But because 21 has this uncanny ability to name every single scent/brand of perfume and cologne celebrities wear. And he shows it off to 24. Speedy makes a return for this bit.
Yep.
And President Woodrow Wilson. And he's like, I've done it. So now you got to tell Helena Troy how cool I am. Despite the fact in a previous episode, he explains that nobody has sex in this like weird afterlife because it's not like they were getting laid in the real world. I thought it was cool to see Speedy come back for a brief gag. The silent partners were introduced to the investors. This is the insurance scam that they got with General Consolidated Insurance Company and Pomp and Circuitry. They're not really guild affiliated, but they kind of
Wait,
are.
I thought that was just a front for the guild because it's the same initials.
Oh yeah, Guild of Columbus and 10. Well, yeah, probably.
The silent partners, it's unclear what they're
The investors. They're the
but
same.
but the investors were
Yeah.
being sought after by Sphinx, both because to get at the guild, but also it seems like they're an outsider entity, and we learned that they have magical powers.
And they're brothers of Henry Killinger.
Yes, they are. They are Killinger's siblings. We get to meet Pirate Captain again. Meanwhile, Jonas Jr. is up in space working on Gargantua 2. And we learned that Spider Skull Island is an independent nation where cigarettes and alcohol are banned, but weed is legalized, and so is gay marriage.
Thanks, Obama.
And we legalize the gay marriage. Surely he's like, I know where I'm retiring. But so like you learn what Sphinx is about going after guys that don't play by the rules. Of course, Billy Quizboy is kidnapped to do a heart transplant on Monstroso because finally King Gorilla biffs it due to the investors. And
they collect his giant gorilla heart
to put in Monstroso.
Yep.
And Billy Quizboy is enticed to do the surgery after receiving oral sex from what he thinks are 3 vampires.
Those were prostitutes.
Don't
pretend to be whatever you want. Yeah. And Billy had been performing illegal surgery under a pseudonym because he just wanted to be a real
That's all
surgeon.
he wants.
Yeah, he just wants to have some sort of respectable career.
He wants to be a surgeon, but he also wants to be Rusty Venture.
Well, but the problem is that he can't afford to go to medical school, so he just wants to do the surgery. So essentially, the deal is with Monstroso, he will, he loses his V card, he gets actual credentials so that he can be a real doctor, and he has to perform the heart transplant on Monstroso.
Not a bad deal for old Bill.
Great deal for him, provided he doesn't lose his soul to the investors. So
And Billy prematurely ejaculates by shooting fire extinguisher out of his hand.
Yeah.
You don't think
Jeez.
that's sort of you don't think that's some kind of innuendo, do you?
That's not the
train going through the tunnel at the end of a film,
panning to the
Oh, really? You
blowing
just wanted
through
to just come straight to the joke there, huh?
I mean, I think he probably also let the fire extinguisher go. I mean, maybe they're just wired together.
Doc Hammer says it's literally a hand-gasm.
Nice. Probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you wire a hand together like that, who knows? Who knows how your circuits might get crossed.
But also, like, Billy has
like
morals. You know, do no harm.
Which
that
comes back later on as well.
It sure does, because the episode ends with him checking in on his patient, and then they're in Sphinx headquarters, and Brock is just like, "Is he well enough so I can kill him?"
I'm thinking about even later in season 7.
I don't know what you're talking about yet.
Yeah, so here's
with Dr. Jonas Venture or was it the end of season 6 maybe?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so much good stuff there. But all right, we're at the
The
finale.
scenes, the scenes
Operation
of
Prom.
the scenes of Billy. I will just say the scenes of Billy operating on Monstroso are
so
amazing
fucking funny.
because of the size difference is just fucking hilarious. So he's like this little baby crawling around in this open chest cavity to swap out
Wearing
this
nothing but
massive
tidy
heart.
whities and a surgical mask.
Yes, it's wild. It
And
looks
while he's
fucking
arguing,
wild.
and while he's arguing with Brock about do no harm, like half his ass is showing while he's
Yeah.
like leaning for the massive hulking body of Monstroso. But yeah, Operation Prom, our season finale, our series finale / not series finale.
I almost wish that we didn't get more of the show and that this was it, because it's just such a perfect way to end it.
I mean, it's a great way to end it, and it would have been a good ending, but I'm glad that we did
Like,
get more.
no, I know it's good that we got more, but just especially the way that it ends later, I'm like, it's so the canonical ending is so ham-fisted that I really enjoy this one.
I mean,
it's them going out on their own terms.
Yeah, but we both know that we're hindsight's 2020. We got what we got, whether we liked it or not.
Fair.
Everyone can go see my Digital Archipelago episode with Hudson, with Geo on this movie, because I watched it. It was basically a triple feature for me, because Barbie,
Yep.
Oppenheimer, and Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart all dropped on the same day. So it was a triple feature for me. And I walked away satisfied, but so incredibly hurt.
Yep.
Emotionally, knowing that was it. I was never going to get another episode.
Well,
but yeah. So, anyways, like, this is a good wrap up because there was no more contract. We get a Prom episode. This is the last canonical appearance of Triana, and she's got some like dude with
she's got Edward from Twilight, but he's also a gimp.
Yeah, he's got like cerebral palsy.
Yeah,
can't really walk.
His magic isn't good enough to fix his fucking legs yet.
Yeah, she needs to keep going to wizarding school for that, obviously.
But
yeah, like,
eventually.
it is kind of funny though to see this this Prom episode, because also this is the episode where we get the whole fucking Avengers OSI headquarters USS Intrepid with the Shield helicarrier, and the Washington Capitol glued on top of it, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
This is also the
secret president.
We also get the gravy stuff as well.
Shallow gravy, yeah. You get to see Dermot and Hank's band. So there's a few things.
There's so much stuff.
There's a lot of plots going on,
and
this is also this is also an hour-long episode. So this is an hour-long finale. So Monstroso, there's the real body of Monstroso, along with a bunch of other a bunch of decoy bodies of Monstroso.
Yep.
That OSI and other actors have scattered around. So they want to maintain control of that. Meanwhile, Hunter goes to talk to Tracer because Sphinx is on the kill list for OSI. He does not want that. He does not want that to happen. And also, what was it? Stop having OSI agents and try to infiltrate Sphinx. We're getting tired of killing them. And so they have a little wrestling match. Tracer has an episode. It is sold to Hunter as Tracer being a Hulk and occasionally
But he
going
actually has
on.
prostate cancer.
But he actually has
That-
the PP cancer.
which she calls PP cancer.
Daddy's scared of the cancer.
Like,
That's just paid off immediately from the Zeus episode.
And Tracer ends up revealing that Cardholder and Doe are guild operatives, which is tragic because then Cardholder and Doe get dead, and they were awesome characters. They had
No,
great
they're just
dialogue.
sleeping.
They're just sleeping.
God bless you, Hudson.
and then gives control of OSI to Hunter, thereby basically ending the Sphinx arc for Brock and Gathers and Shore Leave, etc. That results in, at the end of this Prom thing, 21 will
Inherit Sphinx.
inherits Sphinx because he ends up finding out that 24 isn't real. He gets final proof that 24 isn't real because 24 has been bringing these other quote unquote ghosts around, but he finds out that one of the ghosts that 24 has had all night, the guy is still alive. And he realizes that he was deluded the whole time. He has it out with the Monarch. He reveals that
Dr. Girlfriend.
Dr. Girlfriend, and they made out. The Monarch and Dr. Girlfriend are like, we are villains. Of course, we're into like swapping partners and all of this shit.
We're swingers.
We're swingers. Yeah, it didn't mean anything to her. It means something to him. And
because I think actually it's the Monarch who takes it like with like a total kind of laughter.
yeah, it's like, why would I care?
He's like, I've seen my wife do things to Phantom Limb, and I've cooked him breakfast after. Like total villain, degenerate shit.
What was it? Phantom Limb, or it was someone else? It wasn't Phantom Limb.
Someone else. I think Phantom Limb was
Yeah.
the one person he wouldn't let that happen to. But he's like, I've seen her go down on someone and then made him breakfast. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And so 21 like fully quits. He
The Monarch
basically
just voted for Bernie.
oh my god.
Ugh.
21 gets to keep all of the cool Sphinx shit, and then let's see. Doc had hired a bunch of prostitutes to attend this prom, so that he could sort of do the same thing his dad did at his prom, which was have a bunch of arm candy. All of those prostitutes end up being Blackhearts, Molotov cockteases operatives.
But it doesn't matter because
they get
Rusty Ventured.
They get Cronenberg. Yeah, no, the exact same plot from
The
that
Spanish
one episode
Fly
of
turns them into the Fly.
Yeah, turns them into the Fly. This
which
plot
is
was
so
later
much
used
better.
in Rick and Morty.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so much better here than in
Yes.
that episode of Rick and Morty, because he's supposed to be like the ultimate scientist in that show, and you could definitely see Rusty fucking this up.
Yes. So they get turned into these horrible monsters. Everyone has a great time killing these monsters. But ultimately, it appears that Cocktease has gotten away with Monstroso. She basically she gets out of her chastity belt, but she also won't consummate her thing with Brock. because ultimately she's a mercenary and she wants to be with but Monstroso can give her everything she's ever wanted, and Brock can only give her
he's
love.
exceptionally endowed.
Yeah, well, he's like fucking 10 feet tall, you know.
And Brock is just having fucking none of it.
Brock is absolutely losing his mind, and it's the one major L he's ever taken, and so Molotov and Monstroso basically get away, and let's see. Dean fully alienates Triana because of her boyfriend. In the post-credit scene, he tries to, with Hank and Dermot's help, tries to spell Triana's name in like lumber, light it on fire, and like play a boombox outside of her house. It does not work out, and he ends up.
It's a lowercase t.
He ends up burning a cross.
He gets cross burning.
He ends up burning a cross, dressed as a ghost, because he had explained that she was into spooky goth stuff, and Dermot was like, "Ghosts are spooky," but it's effectively he's dressed like a Klansman. The outrider comes out, puts it out, calls him a racist, and then
tells him to go
dad
fuck himself.
to him. Yeah, he was just like, don't you want what's best for Triana? You know, and
you know what I
Dean is
think?
like, you know what I think?
Fuck
you. Oh, and Tracer launches himself into space.
Oh, he's got a note that says "Fix this."
Yeah.
He's wrapped in an American flag. He's just like, you're in charge. I gotta take care of the pee-pee cancer. Aliens will do that for me.
Because they do. They do fix this.
Yeah, ultimately that one pays out in the stupidest way. Now, I'm not in the way you would not expect, which is to say exactly the way he intended it.
But also, like, the ending with the music choice they picked out, very Kino.
It feels it is a really good wrap. I'm glad the series doesn't end with this episode, but it is a very good wrap. Operation Prom is incredible. It honestly, I feel like they could have made a. I almost wish it was a full movie's length. I think it could.
Well, we do get that later.
When we do
season 5, we're gonna have to deal with not only the Halloween special, but the Shallow Gravy special before getting into the rest of everything.
Well, there are two specials.
Actually, there are specials from the other seasons as well. There is a Christmas episode and some other stuff. We'll have to that might just get thrown into another episode in and of itself.
Didn't we talk about the Christmas episode on season 1? Yeah.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to it.
Yeah, where Pete White hits on Triana when she's like 15.
Boy, this show is just
this show has a thing for teenage girls and little boys. Why are we reviewing this again?
Wait.
Oh no, are we the boy this
baddies?
This aged poorly.
We're gonna get canceled from Frog Twitter.
We're gonna get canceled for. Well, I don't know. Maybe you guys have not backed me up on a couple points here. I feel like I'm gonna
speak for yourself.
We're gonna tell your wife you've been really cutting loose while she's out of town, Hudson.
I would have voted for Obama 3 times if I could have. I swear.
You're better than that.
This is Prude. You need to get married as quickly as possible so this can be a circular firing squad.
No,
that's a trustworthy.
No. You need to get married for my sake.
No. You know, just to spite
Think of the
you.
bros.
Just to spite you, I'm gonna end it right now. Call her up right now and just end it, just to spite you.
Hey, what's up? Lose my number. Click.
All right. Well, so that's that's season 4.
In
Sorry.
3 hours and some change.
3 hours of season
Oh,
4.
man.
It almost would have been faster for you to just watch it yourself.
Well, as I like to say with these shows, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I know this is a dumb Adult Swim show that ran for like 20 years on and off, but it's near and dear to our hearts as well as Last Things. And if you didn't like it, fuck you. I didn't make it for you. I made it to talk about a TV show I liked with my friends. And that's what you get to do as a content creator, whether it's successful or not. With that being said, Mr. Hudson, actually, I'm not going to start with you. Capitalisimo, where can people find you and your work?
People can find me on Twitter at the Capitalisimo, and you can also find me on YouTube at Tookies Mag, where we cover literature.
What
You
about
can
the drive time?
also listen to me and my good buddy Mike of Pole every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, God's time, where we drink and drive and watch the hits.
And if you've made it this far, this is going to be the only time I ever shill it, because this was my terrible idea. Last week's Drive Time movie hour, the 19th,
Of June.
Capitalisimo, Mike of Pole, and myself watched Buckbreaking, and it was a god awful mistake.
It was horrible.
I need a link for this because I didn't get to watch.
It's on Rumble and Odyssey.
I made this suggestion
Ugh.
to Mike and Cap at the OGC conference, saying I'm off because it's a federal holiday and I'm a disgusting government bureaucrat. So let's go do Drive Time movie night where we watch Buckbreaking on Juneteenth. Turns out it's a fucking terrible movie.
It's incredibly hard to watch.
I
Yeah.
liked because I did an episode for before you did, and I liked the movie we watched in like in a really shitty kind of way.
Well,
Oh
I
no,
made it
most of them are
terrible.
like that. Yeah, most of them are like good bad, right? Like they're enjoyable to watch because they're kind of crap.
I got
But
to watch a bunch
holy
of fat Italians like pretend to be action stars, and then they did have a buck-breaking scene.
They directly referenced Buckbreaking. Yeah, it was.
You ever heard of buck-breaking?
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Anyway.
All right. Well, with that being said, Mr. Hudson, where can people find you?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, and first and foremost, and also co-sign that it's fun to get on a stream with friends and Cap and talk about this amazing show.
Friends. Oh, and Cap.
But you can find me at TR _Hudson at Twitter. I also work over at the Double Dealer magazine. Do a podcast over there. We got a Substack. We got magazines, books, yada yada yada. If I've been on Prude's channel a few times, so if you're just hearing of me, come check us out. Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Well, what are friends for? So this will be out when I decide to put it out. I'll see you all when I see you.
We should take a 2-year break.
Yeah, I'll take a 2-year break. And then maybe my channel is dead or I'm doing something completely different in 2 years. And then be like, oh, back to where we were 2 years ago. Ah, yes.
You have
Hello
texted
again,
me.
remaining patron.
Biden is in office again, and we are all currently
Hunter
in amidst-
Biden this time.
Yeah, Hunter Biden is president.
Secret President Hunter Biden.
Fucking terrifying. All right. Goodbye, everyone.